Welcome. So in this project we will create the snake game with MVVM architecture with the GetX, and you guys will learn each and everything related to the MVVM architecture with the GetX. So basically MVVM architecture encourages a clear separation between the business logic, for example the view model, UI view, and the data model. So this separation makes code more modular and maintainable. And also with it we are using the GetX reactive programming. So basically GetX uses the reactive programming, allowing changes in the view model to automatically update the associated UI components. This will help in keeping the UI in synchronizing with the underlying data without manual intervention. And also with it you will learn about the state management right in the GetX. So it's provided a simple yet powerful state management solution. It uses the observable RX to track changes in data and automatically update the UI when the data changes. So basically this just eliminates the need for callbacks and simplifies state management. And also with it you guys will learn about the dependency injection. So GetX offers a built-in dependency injection system. This makes easy to manage dependencies and ensure that the required services, or let's say the instances, are available whenever needed. And also with it you guys will learn about the routing. Basically GetX provides a lightweight and easy to use routing system, make it simple to navigate between different screen pages in the app. So it will just simplify the navigation process compared to the traditional Flutter navigation. And if you talk about the performance of a GetX, it is basically designed for advanced performance and efficiency. It just minimize the unnecessary builds of a widget by only providing just updating the specific parts of the UI that are affected by changes in the data. And if you talk about the global state management right in the GetX, it just allows for a global state management without the need for a complex setups. It just provides a convenient way to share state and data between different parts of the application. And if you just look upon the code manner for the GetX productivity, it just reduces the boilerplate code, resulting in more concise and readable code base. It's also provided useful utilities extension and enhance developer productivity. So you guys will learn each and everything about MVVM architecture with the GetX, and you guys will see how we will just separate the data and the business logic right in our model. And if you talk about the view model, which will just act as an intermediary between the model and the view, and just handling the business logic and exposing data to the view. And right after that, if we just look upon the view right in the MVVM, it will just represent the UI and presentation logic. You guys will learn each and everything about MVVM architecture with the GetX, and you guys will be the professional developer right in Flutter MVVM architecture with the GetX. So you guys can see over here that splash screen. There's going to be the splash screen for our game, which will just say the title name over here, snake game with MVVM architecture with the GetX. And there we go with the icon images that we will add for our snake game. That's the food and there's the snake over here icon images. So whenever we will just install the app, or let's say run the app, the first thing that you guys will notice gonna be this splash screen, and right after 3 seconds we will go towards our snake game view. So I have already paused that over here right on the splash screen. Let me just change the duration for that. We will set it to 3 seconds, and you guys will notice how it will go back to the snake game view. And you guys will learn each and everything right in the code. Okay, for now I just refreshes the app. So that's refreshes the app. After 3 seconds we will go toward the snake game view. So there we go with our snake game view. You guys can see the beautiful design over here for the snake game view. So if you talk about this app bar over here, you guys can see title snake game, and right down below in here you guys can see the score is for now 0 because the snake didn't get the food yet. So whenever the snake will take a bite of the food, the score will be incremented. Okay, and right after that you guys can see that button pause. So if you guys want to just pause the game, come over here, tap on it, it will just pause the snake. You guys can see the snake is now paused. Okay, and if you guys want to start the game, or let's say resume the game, come over here and just tap on that specific button. It will just resume the game. There we go, the snake is now moving. Okay, and you guys can see the beautiful decoration, the grass right in the background. We will add this for the app bar and also for the body, and that's the grid in which the snake will move and eat the food and do their specific work. Okay, now what I'll do, I'll just tap over here on the grid and we will just control the snake with the keyboard keys, and I will show you step by step how we will just implement the logic to control our snake with the help of keyboard keys. So let's move the snake right in the up direction. There we go, right, left, down. So it's working totally fine. And guys, whenever I will take the food, the length of the snake will increases, and also you guys will notice it, the score, it will just increment it. Okay, now come and take the bite. There we go, with the length of the snake it's increasing. Okay, you guys can see over here, and there we go with the score, it just increment the score. Okay, so it's working there specific. Required work. There we go. So you guys will learn each and everything in detailed explanation, and we will implement this game as I told you already so many times. It will be right in the MVVM architecture with the GetX. Now right after that, whenever the snake will detect the collision with itself or any other collision, it will detect the snake, then there will be the show game over screen. Okay, so let me just show you that. Now I'll just, there we go, it just detect the collision with its body. Okay, and in here you guys can see the game over, the title, your score is 7, and there we go with the play button, text button over here. Okay, and this specific beautiful dialog box over here. So if you guys want to just play again, come over here and click upon this play button. It will just start the game right from the start. The score will be 0. The snake will be again small because it's gonna just restart the game from the start. Okay, so let's go and play again. There we go, you guys can see the snake, the score, and each and everything is right here. So in this project we will develop this creative game. It's going to be right in the MVVM architecture with the GetX, and you guys will learn each and everything in detailed explanation. So see you in the project. Welcome back. So let's start this project. First, in here we will go and create a new Flutter project. As you guys can see in here, first make sure to select the SDK path, and then make sure to select the Flutter in here, and then we will go and simply just click on next. Now right in here I will give the name to the project, so I'll just remove that, and in here I will give the name as snake. Instead of space we will give the underscore right in here, and then we'll say game underscore again, and then we say MVVM with GetX, as you guys can see right here. Now come down, and here we will just uncheck that. Simply we will work with the Android platform and also iOS platform. make sure to just check that in here. Now what I'll do, the next thing, we will go down and just simply click on this create. This will take a while, just wait. Here we are, right in the Android Studio, creating our project. So that's the readme, as you guys can see right over here. Simply just close that from here and make sure in here to select the project. In my case it's already selected. You guys can see that the project from here, you can just choose it. Okay, the first thing that I will do, I will just remove that class from here, the home one and the home page state. Simply just delete that like that, and in here I'll just remove that for now, and we'll have the empty scaffold right in here for now. You'll add the const modifier, so your line will be gone. You guys can see that. Now in here, simply just remove that comment lines in here. You guys can see, and we will give the title to our project. Simply gonna be snake game with MVVM architecture in here. And GetX. Okay, so we will create this specific game, snake game, with MVVM architecture with a GetX, and each and everything will be explained in detail. Now firstly, if we look upon the MVVM architecture, there is a separate, or let's say separation of concern. So firstly, we will just create the model in which we will just represent the data and the business logic overall that we will use for our game, and then we will go towards the view model, which will basically act as an intermediary between the model that we will create and the view, which will basically handling the business logic and exposing data to the view. Okay, so that's going to be our view model, and right after that we will be working right on the view. So basically the view, which will represent the UI overall for the snake game and presentation logic that we will implement right in the module, and also handling the business logic and exposing data to the view right in the view model. So each and everything will be organized in creative way, and you guys will notice the separation of this specific concern that I told you about. For example, the model, the view, and the view model. So firstly, we will go towards the lib in here, and I'll create some directories. The first one that we will create, I have already told you about the model. So in here we will give the specific name model. That's going to be our directory. In here we will simply, as I told you already, represent the data and this specific business logic. So press enter over here. You guys can see that for now, that specific directory by name model. Now we will go and click upon the lib and create another directory. Right click, go to the new and create a directory by the name view model. So first let me just write over here the view model. So basically this view model directory, as I told you already, it will just act as an intermediary between the model and the view, handling basically the business logic and exposing data to the view. So press enter. Right over here you guys can see the view model. Now right after that, in here click again, create a new directory, and this time we will create it for the view. which will basically just represent the UI overall for the game, snake game, and the presentation logic. So press enter over here. You guys can see that specific directories now. Now, right after that, GetX. You guys can see that. Now, the first thing that we will do, we will go and just import the package by the name GetX. So first of all, let's go towards the popspec.yaml. You guys can see that. And below the Cupertino icons, we will just add the package by the name GetX. So firstly, just go towards the browser. Here we are. And in here you guys can see pub.dev right in the Google. Search for that. Now, click upon that first one, pub.dev. In here, we will simply search for get. Just scroll down. You guys can see that get over here. Open screens, snake bars, dialogues without context, manage states, and inject dependencies easily with the GetX. That specific package over here, click upon that, and I have already just read that. You guys can have the look over here. Now we will go towards the installing, and from here make sure to just get that. Okay, you can simply just Control C over here, and you can just copy it from here, copy to the clipboard. It's copied. Now we will go towards the Android Studio. So here we are right in the Android Studio, popspec.yaml. You guys can see over here. Now, as I told you already, below the Cupertino icons, we will just pass that over here, which the get. We will remove the dependencies from above because we don't need this. You only need that, the GetX, like that, with the proper alignment with Cupertino. Down below you guys can see that. Okay, like that. Make sure to just have the specific alignment with it. Now I'll just come over here and click on this pub get. It will just import it in our project, and over here you guys can see process finished with exact code 0. So it's mean it just successfully add the GetX in our project. Now we will just get this down from here, and we will close that popspec.yaml. Get the dependencies first. You guys can see the exact code 0. It's okay. Now we can simply just ignore that from here, and the first thing we will do right here, we will just change that material app to the get material app, because we will be working with the GetX. So we have to just call upon that in here, get material app. Now click upon that, go toward this red bulb, and import that package in here. You guys can see that library get, and the error has been gone. So the GetX, why we use that in our project with MVVM. Okay, so basically GetX, it will provide for us the reactive state management in order to basically allowing us to define a reactive variables that automatically trigger UI updates with their values change. So basically this just eliminates the need for manual state management and reduces boilerplate code. And right after that, the other benefits that we will get from the GetX, it will be the dependency injection. Basically GetX specifies the dependency injection by providing a lightweight and easy to use service locator. You can just register and access dependencies like controllers globally without needing a complex setup. And as I told you already, it will just provide us the minimal boilerplate code. In GetX specifically, the boilerplate code reduces the need of it. Okay, the boilerplate code compared to other state management solution. With a concise syntax, you can achieve powerful state management, navigation, and dependency injection. And if we talk about the MVVM with the GetX, it is fully compatible with Flutter's hold to load feature. You can make changes to your code and the changes that are reflected basically in the running app without losing the app state. And also specifically it will just provide for all the easy navigation between multiple screens, and you guys already know that it just supports the name routes, dynamic navigation, and fine-grained control over the navigation stack. And there is so many benefits of a GetX. For example, if you talk about more, the built-in dependency management, the scalability, and the global access to the controller, and specifically their performance of a GetX is known for its excellent performance. It optimizes the memory usage and minimizes the impact on the app performance. Okay, so that's all the detail with the GetX that we will use with the MVVM architecture in our Snake game. Right after that, what we will do, we will go towards the model directory, as you guys can see right here. Right click, create a new dot file, and simply we will give the name as model right in the small alphabets. Whenever you guys will give the name to the dot file, it must be in small alphabets, and instead of space you guys can give the underscore. And for directory, as you guys can see over here, the model, the view, and the view model, you can give whatever you want right in here. For example, the small alphabets, or if you guys want the capital alphabets, and you can give the space whatever you want. Okay, but for the specific dot file, you guys will give the name right in the small alphabets, as I told you already, and instead of space you guys will give the underscore. So I just gave the name model, as you guys can see right here. Press enter, and I have already told you about this specific model. What it will do, it will basically just represent the data and the business logic of attributes. So first of all, you will be working right on our model. Now right in the model, the first thing that we will do, we will just declare the class. Okay, so in here, class declaration, and we will give the name as to the specific class snake, you guys can see over here, and then we say game model. Now in here, curly braces, and take this down like that. Now with the help of GetX, we will just declare the reactive variables that is provided by the GetX package. Okay, in here the first reactive variable that we will declare is going to be simply for the direction of the snake. So right in this specific class by the name snake game model, we'll say rx means reactive. Okay, the variable that we are about to create in here, and in here we'll say direction, and then we will just give the name direction instance name in here for the direction, and then we will just assign in here direction dot right dot obs, and in here we will just click upon that rx, you guys can see red bulb, click upon that, and you guys can see that library package get. Okay, tap on that. Now right on the direction, red bulb again. So in here you guys can notice that create a class direction. So we have to go and just create that direction in order to get the specific required direction. For example, the up direction, the down, the left, and the right. That is going to be simply for our snake movements. Okay, so what we will do for now on, I'll just leave that in here, and down below in here we will create the direction enum in here. So we will say enum, you guys can see, and then we will give the name as direction over here, which will contain the movements for the snake, as I told you already. Okay, so in here the up, comma the down over here, it's gonna be simply like that, up down in a sequence. Okay, and then we'll say left comma, then the right one will be that right direction. Okay, so basically that direction you guys can see defines 4 constant over here, you guys can see. Okay, and basically that specific enum in dot that are used to represent a fixed number of constant values. In this case, direction is used to specify the possible direction that snake can move in our game, which will be up, down, left and right. Now you guys can see over here the error has been gone now, because we have successfully just created that direction enum in here. So this will basically represent the current direction of the snake. It is initialized over here, you guys can see, with a right and with a dot obs. It's basically mean that dot obs right in the GetX. It is an extension provided by the GetX library. It basically stands for observable, and it is used to create reactive variables. Okay, now right after that, right in the class snake game model, we will create another reactive bool type variable in here. So we will say rx, which means reactive, and then we say bool. Then we will simply just give the name as game over, and now we will just assign false dot obs, which will be reactive. Okay, and that specific result going to be right inside this reactive variable bool type is game over. Now right after that, I'm gonna simply just create another reactive bool type variable in here, and it's gonna be simply for is paused. It will just pause the game, so we have to just declare that reactive bool type variable over here in order to use that later on in our code. So it's paused. Now what I'll assign in here, false.obs, which will make it reactive observable. Okay, now right after that, let's create a reactive list. So in here we'll say rx reactive, and then we say list over here. Now in here we will specify as point over here with a capital point. Okay, and right after that it's going to be integer type, and then we'll just give the name as snake. Okay, because the snake will contain the multiple points, you guys will notice that later on right in our game. Okay, so we have to create that specific list array in here in order to get the required result, and we have to make that reactive. So in here, less and greater sign, and right in the middle of it you'll say point. You guys can see over here it's automatically just import the .html over here, you guys can see. Okay, now what we will do, I'll just explain that later on. First let me just complete that. So in here you guys just know it's a integer type, so in here we'll say less than greater sign in here, and then we say integer type, and with it we'll provide the bracket because it's a list array, so we have to provide that bracket in here. It will contain the multiple points, and we will just make that reactive and write it and semicolon. You guys can see over here the error has been gone now. So that specific list array, it will just assign that the required result right into this snake. And I have already told you about this package over here, the library.html. It's manually added over here, so later on we will change that to the .math instead of this package. Now right after that we will go create another reactive rx in here, and then less and greater sign right in the middle we will create another. First let me specify as a point, and it's going to be integer type right in here, less than, greater than, there we go, and then we say it's gonna be integer type. So in here, which will just indicate the integer type, and over here we will give the name for the food. Now to this specific food, what we will assign, we will just assign the point which will contain the x-axis and the y-axis. So as initial state, we will just assign 0 for the x-axis, and for the y-axis we will assign 0, and we will just make that reactive. So in here .obs observable, and write it and semicolon, and you guys can see that yellow line down below, so tap on it, just add the const modifier, it will remove that. Now let's go ahead, another reactive rx in here is going to be integer type, okay, for the score. You guys can see we have to also give the score whenever the snake will just take a bite of the food. We will just increment the score. So in here we have to first as initial declare the reactive integer type variable by the name score over here, and as initial state we will just assign 0, and we will make that reactive .obs. So as I told you already about all of these reactive variables, okay, in here this direction will just represent the current direction of the snake. It is initialized with a direction, right, and we make that private. And over here this is game over. It will basically indicate whether the game is over, and we just initialize that with a false, and we make that reactive. And also in here you guys can see is paused. It will just indicate that whether the game is paused or not, and we just initialize that with a false reactive. And right after that in here you guys can see that rx list, reactive list, and we specify this as a point in here, and it's a integer type, okay. So we give the name as snake, and we just assign that point integer type list array, okay, and we make that reactive in here. It will basically just represent the position of the snake's body as a list of point. You guys can see over here integer type, and it is initially an empty list for now, you guys can see. And right after that you guys can see that specific food, it's a reactive point, indicate that, and in here we just clarify this area integer type, and we give the name as food. So we just assign that. You guys can see over here it will just represent the position of the food. It is initialized with a constant point. You guys can see 0 0 for the x-axis, for the y-axis, and we make that reactive. Right after that you guys can see that reactive integer type variable by the name score, and we just assign 0 as a initial value, and we make that private. And with the .obs we make that reactive, okay. So basically that's all the reactive attributes, or you can say variables over here. Let's move further. Now right down in here we will just create some variables properties without using the .obs in order if we just need that in our code, okay. So first in here I'll just leave a comment so that you guys know about the specific attributes. Expose properties in here without using .obs. You guys can see, okay. Now down below in here we will just declare it, okay. So I'll just quickly do that. In here we'll say direction, and we'll say get, and then we'll say direction over here, and then direction value, and we'll just redirect it over here. You guys can see to the direction dot value, and write it and semicolon. So basically the variable that I'm about to create, it's gonna be just a greater method that expose the values of the rx variables without using the .obs, means reactive, okay, and they provide easy access to the current values of the game state properties, okay. So that's why in here I'm about to just declare that. So in here the other one will be bool type, and we'll say get is game over value, and then we'll just redirect it toward the is game over dot value, right at end semicolon. And now right after that the other one will be bool, and then we'll say get is pause value. Okay, let's redirect it to the is pause. You guys can see over here pause dot value right at end semicolon, and then the list that we created above for the directory variables. So in here we'll say point, that is good in here, and then it was integer type. Yep, for the snake you guys can see. Okay, so in here integer type, and then we say get dot snake value, and then let's redirect it to the snake dot value, and right after that we created the food. You guys can see, so in here it's a point over here. You guys can see it was integer type. Yep, and then we'll say get that food value, and let's just assign that to the food value dot value. Okay, and right after that in here integer type, the last one, we'll say get the score value. You guys can see, and then let's redirect it to the score dot value, and right at end semicolon. So basically that I told you about already, these are getter method that expose the values of the Rx variables without using the .obs. That will provide easy access to the current values of the game.stat properties. Okay, so that's why in here we just expose that, and that's all for our model, snake game model, and I have already explained this in detail. Okay, that's it for the snake game model over here. And the last thing that I will tell you about, you guys can see that .html over here. Please note that this specific package library is not available in Flutter, so we have to just del that from here, and we'll say dart, and then we say math. Okay, so you will just all find and right at the end semicolon. You guys can see all is just fine now for the snake game model. Now right after that we will close that model dot, and we will go towards the view model over here. Right click, create a new dot file over here, in here controller, and then press enter. You guys can see right in the view model directory, there we go with our controller dot. And I have already told you about this specific view model directory. It will just act as an intermediary between the model and the view, and basically just handling the business logic and exposing data to the view. Now the first thing that we will do right in this controller, we will just have the class. Okay, so in here first I'll write class in here, and then we will give the name as snake game controller. You guys can see that this will extends GetX controller. There we go, in here curly braces, tag this down. You guys can see that. Now in here right in this class we will create some static integer type variables and also the bool, and later on we will just create the instance to our model, snake game model. So let's just start that. First I'll just quickly declare that variables that I told you about, and then I will just explain it in detail. So the first thing we will create is going to be simply for the grid size. So in here it will be static, and then it's going to be integer type, as I told you already. Now we will give the name as grid size, and now we will just assign the value 20 for now, and right after that I'll just copy that, and in here we'll just paste it down, and this time it will be integer type static. Okay, in here is going to be simply for the cell size, okay, as initial 20 in here, and right after that what we will do, we'll say static. In here is going to be integer type, and it's going to be simply for the initial snake length. Okay, so in here we'll say initial snake, and then we say length in here with it. It's going to be 5, and right after that we're going to create a bool type simply for the paused, and we will set this to false, and right with it semicolon. You guys can see that. Now right after that in here we will create a string type. In here we'll say get, and then we say pause button text. In here simply that is going to be the pause button text over here. You guys can see that. And now we'll just redirect this to the game state. Okay, for now on we didn't create the instance. First let me just write that in here, and then we will create it. Okay, so in here paused is paused value. If that gonna be true, then right in here we will use the operator conditional in here. So this question mark will identify the if that is going to be true. Okay, if that's going to be true, right in the if we will just show the resume, and if that's going to be false, on the flip side we will show the pause text. Okay, and you guys can see that error because we didn't create the instance right toward the snake game model, because we're gonna get that right from our model class. So in order to just get that, we have to say that in here snake game model, and then we will give the instance name in here with it. You guys can see game state, that is going to be our instance right toward our snake game model. Now let me just make sure of the name right from our model, because we are simply just getting that from there. Okay, so we have to go to the model dot in here. You guys can see over here is paused value. Let me just copy that from here and go towards our controller. In here paste it again. There we go. Okay, it was a spelling mistake. You guys can see over here. Now the error has been gone. Now you guys can see that is paused value. It was a spelling mistake over here writing the value. Okay, if you guys noticed before. Now that is fine. You guys can see we just simply, with a more organized way and simple in manner, we get that from our snake game model. So that's how we can just organize the code. All is fine. We'll just close that from here, close it, and go towards the controller dot in here back again. Now I'm about to give you the detailed explanation of these static integer type variables, and also this one, resume pause, and the instance over here, why we create that over here. So if you talk about the grid size, basically over here this variable will represent the size of the grid. It is likely we use to define the dimension of the playing field, okay, of the snake game. And in here you guys can see the static keyword over here. So basically a static variables is shared among all of the instances of a class. It is associated with the class itself, not with the instances of the class. So basically we use that keyword in here to just define a class member, variable, or any other specific method that belongs to a class itself rather than to the instances of the classes. Okay, we're here now. Right down here, the cell size, this will basically represent the size of each cell in the game grid. It is basically used to determine the dimension of the individual cells within the grid. And right after that, in here you guys can see that initial snake length. So this will just indicate the initial length of the snake whenever the game will start. Right after that, we create that bool type pause in here. You guys can see this is a bool variable. You guys can see, okay, it is basically used to track whether the game is currently paused or not. And as initial, we just assign false for now. And right after that, in here, as a string type, return a string. You guys can see over here the resume and pause. This is a greater method that will be used to display on the screen basically for the game pause or resume button tags over here. You guys can see that. And right after that, you guys can see that specific instance of the snake game model over here class, and basically this is going to be the model class for the snake game, managing the game state such as the direction, game over status, pause status, snack position, food position, and score, etc. Okay, now with the help of this instance, we will just get through our model and get the required data from there in this business logic for the snake game controller. Now I'm about to just create the first method over here. It's going to be void type, it's going to return nothing, and we will give the name as toggle in here pause. Now first I'll just create that method, and with it I will just give the detailed explanation. Okay, first let me just complete that over here. So in here we'll say game state, since we made the instance over here, so we can get right through our model. So in here we'll say game state, and with it we'll say dot is paused, and then we say dot value over here, and then we'll just assign in here the not operator over here, as you guys can see that, and with it we'll say game state dot is paused dot value over here, and write it and semicolon. Now we'll take this down and we will just call upon the update basically over here. It will just ensure that update is called to rebuild the UI. Okay, so in here semicolon, it's a inbuilt function over here. So now basically over here we create the method by the name toggle pause, and it's a void. Okay, it will return nothing. Now right inside that in this specific method, and you guys can see this line of code. What it will do, basically this line of code will toggle the value of the isPaused property. You guys can see, okay, and in the game stat object, if is paused was true, it's become false and vice versa. So the value property is used to get or set the value of an observable variable. So overall, this specific method is responsible for just toggling the pause state of the game. Okay, and right down in here you guys can see that update method over here. It's inbuilt, so basically this will update the game, and in the context of a GetX, assuming that this is a GetX controller, this update method triggers a rebuild of the UI. When the state of the controller changes, calling update informs the framework to rebuild the UI based on the updated state. This is really important to just reflect the changes usually. Okay, so that's why in here we just call upon that. So it's done, this specific method and all of their work over here. Now right after that we will create another method. So just down in here First I'll say void is gonna return nothing, and we will give the name to the specific method by the name handle arrow key. So it will just handle all of the arrow key for the specific movement of a snake. So in here it will just take our parameter of type raw key event, as you guys can see in here. Give the name as event in here, and then curly braces, and take this down like that. Each and everything that I will explain in detail. First, let me just complete the code over here. So first I'll just set the condition right on this specific event as a parameter above this one. So in here the condition will say in it, if event is raw key, it's a raw key event, we'll go with the raw key down. There we go. As you guys can see, that third one, okay, raw key down event, we'll go with that one. If the event gonna be that raw key down event, then what we will do, curly braces, take this down. Now right inside that we will just use the switch statement over here, okay. So now in here switch, and then with it we'll say if that specific event gonna be the logical key, and then in here curly braces, if that's gonna be the logical key, then what we will do right inside the switch statement, we will use some specific cases, okay. So in here case 1 will be something like logical keyboard key, that first one, okay. You guys can see that, and right in this case we'll go with the dot arrow up. Now in here you can just put the colon over here and down in here. Now right from the snake game model we will just give the specific direction, okay. And you guys can see over here we created that instant before, okay. If I just press the control and left click on the mouse, it will just take me right toward the snake game model in here, okay. And you guys can see over here each and everything that I explain in detail, okay, over here. So we're gonna simply just get the direction and also other variables if we need it, okay. And that's how we can just get the reactive variable and use it right in the control dot, okay, right in the game logic. And we have already created that instance over here. You guys can see that now. Let's go down in here. First we'll say game state, and you guys can see over here that specific name, okay, for the snake game model instance name. So in here game state, and then we'll just take the direction as I told you already about, okay. And then we say dot value over here. Now we'll just assign this specific direction dot up over here to it, okay. And right after that we're going to simply just drag that over here. Now for time saving I'll just copy that from here to here, copy it, and below in here I'll just paste it like that. And we'll just change this for arrow down, okay. You guys can see over here, just don't get confused in that, okay. Arrow down, the first one was arrow up, and the direction that we just assigned, it was direction dot up. And now you guys can see that specific case below the break over here, that's gonna be the second case, and in here the arrow will be down and the direction will also be down, okay. Now we'll just paste it again, and this time we'll go with the arrow left over here, and also we will just change the direction for the specific movement of a snake. And that is fine. Now lastly we are just left with the right, so we'll go in here, arrow right over here specifically, okay, and we'll also just change the direction over here so you guys can see. So that's all the specific working for this method, handle arrow key. Okay, now let me just explain that more in detail. As I told you already, it will just return nothing, and here we just give the void, okay, type, and we just give the name handle arrow key, and in here we are just passing a parameter of type Rocky event by the name event over here. Okay, that's the specific parameter. And basically this method, as I told you already, it will specifically just handle the keyboard events for the specific movements of our snake for the game. Okay, now right in this specific method, now in here we just set the if condition. You guys can see that is gonna just checks if the event is a key down event, and also it will be just interested in reacting when the key is pressed, not when it is released. Okay, and right inside this if condition we just uses the switch statement over here. You guys can see that we are using that switch statement just to handle different logical keys. Okay, the logical key represent the logical meaning of the key, like arrows key, and we are just using that specific arrow. So right inside this switch statement it just checks which arrow key was pressed on the basis of the specific cases over here, okay, that we just set before. So if we talk about the first one, that specific case over here, so in here if the up arrow key is pressed, it basically just sets the game state direction over here. You guys can see that to the direction up, okay, and we just assign that, and right after that we just back that, mean we just terminate the specific case. And right after that, if you guys just look upon this second case, in here you guys can see that arrow down. So if that specific arrow key is pressed, it's gonna just set the game state direction over here. You guys can see to the direction down, and we just break that, and so on, simply for the arrow left, arrow right. Okay, and it will just break and terminate the case specific. So basically we are done with this specific method with a detailed explanation. Now right after that we will be working on another method. So we will just get out of this specific brushes for the handle arrow key, and down below in here now we will create another method. As I told you already, it's gonna return widget. So in here type widget over here, and then we will just give the name as build cell. So now we will just implement and build this cell, okay, over here for the snake. So in here it's gonna tag the parameter over here, type color, and we'll just give the name as color over here. You guys can see that. Now in here call the brushes, and we will just take this down, and as I told you already, it's gonna return the widget. So in here we'll say return over here, and then the widget will be the container, okay, right over here, and write it and semicolon, and then we will just take this down over here. First we will just set the width, and the width gonna be simply for the cell. First we will just set the cell size over here, okay, as we created above as a initial value 20 in here for the grid size and for the cell size over here, and initial snake length was 5. Okay, now let's go down over here, and we will just set this, or let's say convert it to double over here. Now right after that we'll simply just set the height for the cell size over here, and then we'll say load to double, and then the specific color, the parameter it will take. So in here we'll set this specific color for it, okay, for the cell size. So we just specifically set the width of the container to the cell size to double, and also if we just look upon the specific cell size, it's a constant just representing the size of each cell in the grid. Okay, and I have already explained this in detail. And if we talk about the height over here, it just set the height of the container to the cell size dot double over here. And lastly, we just set the specific background color of the container to be specified color, and the color parameter is passed whenever specifically calling this method by the name build cell. Okay, so that's all for the specific method build cell. Now right after that we will create another method. So below down in here is gonna return widget again. So in here type widget over here, and then we will give the name as build food cell. Okay, so now we will just build a cell for the specific food that will just show up for the snake. Okay, now in here build food cell, specific name, and then braces, then again curly braces, take this down. So first of all, I'll just create the variable of type double over here, and we will give the name as food size. And now in this I'll just assign the cell size, and we'll just multiply this by 1.0, and you can just adjust this specific multiplier as needed. Okay, so I just set it to 1.0 over here. First let me just complete that, and then we will just explain in detail more specifically. Now right after that, as I told you already, we will return widget over here. So it's going to be a container widget, right at end semicolon. Now take this down. Right in this specific widget, first we will just set the width for the food cell over here. So it's going to be food size over here, and right after that the height going to be also food size. You guys can see that over here. Now right after that we will do a little decoration, and we will make it more beautiful over here. So box decoration over here. Now braces, take this down, and we will just show the image for the food in our game whenever the snack will take a bite of it. Okay, so in here we will say image, you guys can see that, and then we'll say decoration over here, decoration image, and then braces, you guys can see that, right, and comma, and just take this down from here. Now again image over here. First let me just scroll it down so that you guys can see it easily. Now with the image we will have the asset image. Okay, in here braces, you guys can see, and in here put comma and take this down, or we can just leave it over here. Now right in this asset image, first let me just put the string over here, and right after that now we will just import the assets, and that there will be the specific images that we will use for our game, and also the font style, the signature. Okay, so I'll just get this down, you guys can see that, and you guys can see that specific folder by the name assets. I will just provide this right in the resources or even in the comment section down below. Okay, so don't wait for that, simply we will just drag and drop that right in this snake game MVVM GetX in this. Okay, and you guys can see that refractor, easily just tap on it. Now we just successfully add the asset over here, you guys can see that. Okay, so right inside that, as I told you already, the font style will be the signature, you guys can see over here that we will use, and over here you guys can see the images, that are the specific images that we will use for our game. Okay, now I'll just close that quickly and just back again in here, right in the build food cell. As I told you already, we will just set the image for that specific food. So in here now we will just set the path to the specific food. Which food? That one. Okay, that apple, right in the assets, and write in the images, and then we will go to food.png. But first we will go toward the popspec.yaml over here, and we will just scroll down. In here you guys can see that assets and their specific images. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just delete that from here, you guys can see, and also I'll just remove that specific hash over here, remove it, and move the asset, the first alphabet by the name A. We will just move this over here below this specific hash. Okay, and now I'll just press enter, and with the second S of assets over here, I'll just provide the dash over here, you guys can see that, and then I'll just give a little space over here like that. Now below the T, as you guys can see, of the specific asset, I'll just start the name assets over here, you guys can see, and then we'll go with the slash, and then we say images. Okay, provide the specific path and write at n slash again, so it will just include all of the specific images which is right inside the directory images and then the directory asset. And you guys can see that there's the asset directory, and right inside that there's the specific images directory, and right inside that there's all the specific images that it will just include, or let's say edit in our project. So then we can use this and just implement the beautiful attractive background, or let's say the decoration for the game, okay, of images. So make sure the alignment must be proper like that, as I explained this in detail, so it will not cause any error then. Now right after that we will just add the fonts. Okay, which font? That's Signature. Now if we just scroll down, and from here to here we'll just delete that. Okay, simply delete that, and below this example you guys can see over here, what I'll do, I'll just take it down like that, and then below the hash, as you guys can see over here, I'll just write fonts. You guys can see that. Okay, write in the small alphabets, you guys can see that. Make sure each and everything will be like that as I write over here. Okay, then it will cause no error, it will be just fine. Now we'll just take this down, press enter over here. Below the fonts you guys can see, now I'll take the space 1, 2, and you guys can see that as below that in here we'll just put the dash over here like that, and then let me just take it like that, that is specific S, and below down in here dash. Okay, now space again, and then you guys can see that colon in here, right on the right side of this specific dash over here, we can write family like that, and the family gonna be the Signature. Okay, let me just put the name over here, Signature, and there's the specific name over here, Signature. Okay, over here. Now we'll just provide the path in here, press enter, and below the family that specific small f in here down below we'll just write fonts like that, and then press enter. Now with this specific alphabet and small in here, first we'll put the dash over here and then give a space. Okay, down below the specific S small in here we'll just write asset, and then in here the specific font that we will provide, just write it like that specifically. Okay, and in here right inside the assets then fonts, so in here we'll provide the fonts now, and then slash again we'll go with the Signature over here, and make sure the name must be similar like that, signature.ttf over here. Okay, ttf. So we successfully just add the fonts and the specific images over here. Now we will just come over here and click upon this pub get, it will just import it, or let's say edit in our project, and you guys can see it's just successfully added with the exit code 0. Okay, now we'll just take this down, close the pubspec.yaml, we will back again towards the controller.dot over here. First get the dependencies, wait for the exit code 0 over here, is successfully just done. Now take this down, again ignore it. Now begin writing the asset image. So in here we will just simply now provide the path. It's right inside the asset directory, and then slash, and then it's right inside the images directory slash. And what was the name of the image? Let me just make sure first. Asset images, and that food.png over here. The name must be similar, guys. It's a food png, so it must be similar like that in here, food.png. okay, so there's our specific method for the bill food cell, and we just provide the image over here, and then we'll just fit box fit over here, and we will go with the box fit.cover, and it'll all just fine. So now, as you guys know, we are creating the business logic for our game. So whenever all of the business logic will be done, and then all of the working right after that we will done for the view, and then we will test the app, and you guys will notice each and everything. Okay, for example, this specific bird full cell, okay, and also this specific image which was red apple food.png. So as I explained this in detail already, so let's have a look one more time. So in here, as I told you already, it will just return the widget. You guys can see, so type widget over here, and then we give the name as food cell, and we will just build that. So that's the specific name for the method, and right inside the specific method, first we just declare, or let's say initialize the variable by the name food size at type double. So in this specific variable, we just assign that specific cell size, and we just multiply it with 1.0. It will just calculate the size of the food cells. In this case, it's setting food size to the same size as cell size. The multiplier you guys can see over here, 1.0, ensures that the food size is a double value. Okay, 0.0. That's why in here we declare this as a double. And told you already about this widget, it will return that, and right inside that, first we just set the width as a food size, and also the height as a food size, okay, in which we just assign that. I've already told you about that. So we specifically just set the width and height, and then right after that we just go towards the decoration, box decoration, and right inside that we just set the image. So then we take the widget decoration image, and right inside that, that's how we can just set the image for the food, okay. And in here image property, and then again in here widget by the name asset image, and we just provide the specific font as I explained this in detail already, and we just fit this with the cover, box fit.cover, okay. So that's all for the specific method. Now right after that, we will just create some other methods down below over here. Now we will create the snack cell. So simply we will build that. It's going to return widget, so type in here widget, okay, type widget, and then we will give the name as build snack cell. In here braces, then again curly braces, we will just take this down. Now we will just declare, or let's say initialize the variable of double type as we did over here for the food size, okay. So in here it will be simply for the snake size, okay, and in here we'll say cell size, and then the multiplier over here, and we'll say 1.0, and right after that it will return widget over here. As I told you already, we'll go with that size box over here and write it and semicolon, and we will just take this down. In here first we'll set the width, and the width is going to be the snack size as we did above for the specific method food cell. Now in here for the snack cell we'll say height, and again it's going to be the snake size over here, and then we will show the image for our snake, okay. So in here image dot asset, in here we will just provide the specific name. So in here string first, and then we'll just provide the path as it was asset directory, and then slash, then right inside the images, and then slash. Now we will just look upon our snake right inside the assets images directory, and there we go with the snake.png. That's going to be our snake. Okay, and you guys will just notice that whenever all of the code will be done and we will test the app, so it will be more attractive and it will make sense then. Okay, so that's going to be our snake. Now let me just go towards the controller dot in here. It was snake, and guys, make sure the name must be similar, otherwise it will not work. .png. Okay, and right after that in here comma, and let's provide it the property fit, and then we say box fit over here, and then we'll go with a dot cover. You guys can see that over here, and you guys can notice over here that we use the decoration image and right inside that asset image, because in here we just return the widget container. So in here, that's why we use the decoration box decoration, and then we just come over here like that, and in here we just use as a child the specific widget by the name image.asset. And you guys can also show the image like that, but in here you guys can see we return the widget by the name size box over here. Okay, and in here container. So if you guys want to just go with the decoration, or let's say in here box decoration, then you guys have to just return in here the container widget. And if you guys want to just show the image like that, image.asset over here, then you guys must have to use the specific widget by the name size box, return that over here. Okay, and it will work fine both ways. Now, so let's have a look upon that specific method. So I have already told you about this. It will return widget over here. Okay, and we just give the name build snake cell. So we will build this cell for the snake. No, right inside the specific method we just declare a double type variable by the name snake size over here, and we just assign this cell size multiplier with a 1.0. so it will just calculate the size of the snake cell, and in this specific case, in our case, it's just setting the snake size to the same size as cell size over here. So the multiplier you guys can see over here 1.0, it just ensures that the snake size is a double variable in here. Okay, and 1.0 you guys can see, and right after that we return the widget by the name size box. In here you guys know already, set the width, height, and then we just provide the image.asset and the specific path over here, and we just fit that as cover. Now right after that, let's create another method void. It will return nothing, so in here we will give the name check food and void with it. Okay, and in here braces, then again curly braces, we will simply just check the food for the snack. Okay, now in here the first thing that I will do, we will just retrieve the head, first element of the snake, from the game state, I mean from our model. So in here you guys can see that specific model, and we just give the instance name game state. Okay, now let's go down. Now in order to get that, I mean just retrieve the head, first element of the snake, from the game state, I mean our model. So in order to get that, first in here we'll say point type over here, and it's going to be integer type, and then we'll give the name as head, and then we'll just assign the game state over here as I told you already, then snake, then dot first. I told you already, retrieve the head, first element of the snake, so in here we'll say dot first. You guys can see that right at end semicolon, and here you guys can see that R, tap on it, import the library. Which one? Import library dot math, all just fine. Now Right after that, we will just set the if condition, and in there what we will do first, we will say head that we just created above, in which we just assign that. Okay, so in here head, and then we say dot x axis, if that's equal to the game state dot food value in here. Then for the x-axis over here dot x, and then also we will just use the AND operator over here, and we're just telling this specific condition also check this another statement with it, which statement that I'm about to write over here, the head dot y over here x-axis, and if that's equal to the game state over here, you guys can see dot food dot value, and again write it and y-axis. Okay, so if that just accesses the collision, okay, then what we will do right in this specific case, and guys remember I have already told you about that, and it will just checks if the coordinates of the head matches the coordinates of the foot. Okay, now inside this specific condition, what we will do, we will just have the game state, and then we'll just get the score from it, from our model. Okay, game state in here, the instance name game state dot score, and then we say dot value, and we will just increment that. So in here we will use the specific operator plus plus in here, it will just increment the score for us. Whenever the snake will take a bite of the food, it will just increment the score. So that's why in here we are just incrementing the score, and we are getting that from our model, and we just give the name instance name game state over here. Okay, you guys can see that we just increment the value successfully. Right after that, again we'll say game state, and then we'll say food dot value over here, and now what I'll do, we will just generate the food for that. Okay, so in order to just generate the new food, we have to just create another specific method for that. Now below this braces over here down, let's create a method by the name generate food that we're gonna need over here then. So we will leave this empty for now. First we will go and just create another method by the name generate food. So in here of type point in here, and then we'll say less and greater than, in here it's going to be integer type, and then we will give the name as generate food over here. Okay, in here braces, and then again curly braces, you guys can see, take this down from here. Now of type point here is going to be integer type, and we'll just create this specific variable, declare it over here by the name new food. Okay, over here, write it and semicolon. So specifically this method, as I told you already, will be responsible for generating a new food random position in the game. Okay, now right after that, let's scroll down. First in here we will just use the do while loop over here. So in here first we'll say do, okay, and then curly braces, we'll just take this down. First in here we'll just set the while condition over here, and we'll say if game state dot snake dot contents which elements, the new food. Okay, so we are getting the snake from our model, the instance name over here game state. So if that snake contains the new food, so only in that case what we will do, we will just return the new food. Okay, if the snake contain it, or let's say get it. Now so now right after that, you guys can see that new food and the red line they are, because we didn't just assign the random position for the food for a specific variable yet. So right in the do, what I'll do now, I'll say new food. Okay, you guys can see now we will assign, first let me just write the code over here, the point over here, and for the x-axis we'll say random, not this one, just the where it gone, that one, random. Okay, that's random over here with it brushes. You guys can see that over here. Now what I'll do, I'll just put dot over here and then we'll say next integer, okay, int over here, and then we just provide the maximum the grid size over here. You guys can see. Okay, now right after that for the y-axis what I'll do, I'll just provide the random, not this again, random. There we go, random with our brushes over here, and then we say dot next int over here, and the max we will provide the grid size over here and simply write it and semicolon. So we just successfully assigned that right in the new food. Okay, so this line of code, what it will do basically, it will just generate the random x-axis and y-axis coordinates within the game grid using that specific random. You guys can see over here dot next int with the brushes and grid size, and also this one. So basically this will create a new point integer type with the specific coordinates that I tell you about and assigns it to the new food over here. So then it will just generate a random position for the food in the game, and we just successfully assign that to this new food. Okay, and this do while loop, and you guys can see that do over here specifically, it's initiate a do while loop. So the code inside this specific loop will be executed at least once. Which code? This line of code. Okay, and then in here for the while, you guys can see the condition over here. It will just checks if the generated food position is already occupied by the snake. If it is, the loop continues generating a new random position until an unoccupied position is found. And then lastly, as I told you already, we will just return the specific new food. Okay, and inside this new food we just assign that I explained in detail each and everything. Okay, so that's how we will just generate food at a random position in the game. Now we are done with this specific method. Okay, now we will go towards our check food method. In here you guys can see we just left that empty while ago. So in here what I'll do now, I will just call upon the generate food, that it will just create a food for us at a random position in the game. So call upon that over here, and we just assign the result of this generate food to this game state food dot value. Okay, now right after that what I'll do, I'll just have the game state over here, and then we say snake, and then simply just add the element, and the element is going to be the game state over here, the specific snack that we will get from our model with the instance name game state dot snake over here, and we'll say dot lost, and over here semicolon. As I told you already about this specific line of code over here, we just call upon that generate food method to generate a new position for the food, and then lastly over here we are just left with this line of code for the specific method check food. So this line of code, this will add a new element to the snake, effectively just increasing its length, the snack length. Okay, the new element is placed at the same position as the last element, making the snake longer. So whenever the snake will take a bite of the food, it will just make the length of the snake longer. Okay, you guys will notice each and everything visually whenever all of the code will be done, and then we will test the app. You guys will just notice that. So for now on, each and everything is just explained in detail for the check food over here and also for the generate food over here. I hope it's clear now. Now let's move towards other methods. So After that, down below over here we will create another method. Okay, so this method that we will about to just create over here, this will be declared as a asynchronous function, and it will return a future object with no specific type. So in here we'll say future, okay, and then we'll say void. So it will return a future with no specific type. So in here future, and writing the greater than less sign operator over here, and right inside it void, and then we will just give the name as show game over screen. So whenever the game will be over, we will just show the game over screen for that. So in here we just give the specific name over here to the specific method show game over screen, and then I have already told you about is going to be asynchronous function. Okay, so in here async, and then in here curly braces, you guys can see that, and then take this down. Now scroll down over here, right inside the specific method we will return get dot dialog. Okay, so in here let's remove that widget for now, and in here semicolon, and then just take this down from here. Now the widget going to be the alert dialog over here. In here put comma first and take this down. So in here, as you guys can see, we just return the get dot dialog. Use the GetX, the specific get dot dialog, to show a dialog on the screen, and then right inside it we just have that widget by the name alert dialog. It's created dialog with the server components like title, content, and actions, so on. So in here now, right in the alert widget, what we will do first, I'll just provide the background color, and the colors we will choose, let's go with the transparent would not look so good, attractive, so we will go with the orange accent would be good. Okay, for the background color. Right after that, let's provide the title. So for title, first in here we'll have the text widget in order to get the text for the title. So get this down in here string first, and then we say game over. You guys can see that specific text. Now in here comma, and right after that we will do a little style. Now in here we'll say text style over here. In here braces, you guys can see, first I'll just scroll down, and right in the text style widget, first I'll set the font family over here, and then in here string first, and then I'll say signature. You guys can see that over here signature. In here font size we will just set it to 32.0, and write it and comma. So we are getting that specific signature as we set the path right in the popspec.yaml. You guys can see over here, and also if we just go towards the assets over here, and in here there's the directory fonts, and in here there we go with the signature. Okay, just don't get confused in that. So in here we just provide this font family type signature for the game over text title, okay, over here, so it will look more attractive. And as I told you already, whenever all of this business logic will be done, writing the controller dot, and also we will just complete the UI design, and then we will go towards the just testing our app, and you guys will notice each and everything in detail, specifically with the visuals, okay, presentation. Now right after that we are done with the title. So in here now we will just specify the content of this specific dialog. So in order to get that, what we will do, below this text widget over here we'll say content, and then we'll have the text widget over here. There we go. In here braces, you guys can see that. Now what I'll do, I'll just take this down, and in here for string, you guys can see write it and comma like that. Now right inside that string, first I'll say your score. We're gonna also show the score of the player that will just play the game and gets the food. So related to that we will just increment the score, and lastly when the game will be over we will just show the specific score for the player on the screen, on the game over screen. Okay, so in here your score, then we'll just put colon on here, and with it I'll go with the dollar sign, and then in here curly braces we'll say game street over here, and then score. So that's the instance name of our model. Okay, and in here we are just getting that specific score from there, and then we say dot value here. Now right after that, what I'll do, we will just do a little style for that. So in here style, text style widget over here, and just get this down over here. Now right inside this text style, the first thing that I will set, it's going to be the font family, and it's going to be signature. Copy that from here, in here paste it right inside those string, and then in here comma, then the font size we'll set it to 32.0, write it and comma. Okay, you guys can see that. So there's a constant, we will add the constant modifier to this text, and also the specific text style. Will just fine, you guys can see that. And if you guys want to remove that green line over here, it's not an error, it's just showing a suggestion that it will replace it with the Sinatra, but that's not the specific name that we provided right in the pubspec.env and also in the asset right in the fonts directory. Okay, so what we will do, right click, show context action, and we will just save this to the dictionary. Okay, and it will just gone, as you guys can see now. Okay, so this line of code, what it will do, it will basically just displays the user score dynamically in the content. Okay, and right after that we just set a style for that. In here text style widget, set the font family, signature, font size 30.0, all just fine. Now right after this text over here, we will just add the actions. Okay, so in here we'll add the text button. So in here text button widget over here is going to take the on price and the child property over here. For now on, I'll just delete that, and we will add it one by one so that you guys just don't get confused in that. And in here with it comma, with the text button, take this down from here. Now we will provide the on price event over here. For now on, we'll just leave this empty, this on price event. First I'll just complete over here the design for the text. So in here text, and in here string over here, and then we say play again. There's going to be our text button which will say play again. And right after that, in here put comma, take this down, we'll do a style. You guys know what we will do, text style over here, braces, take this down, right in the text style. First we will set the font family. Let me just copy that from here, add it like that, you guys can see. Okay, and in here we can just add the constant modifier, so the line will be gone. You guys can see that over here. Now we will go back toward the on price event over here. So right inside that, what I'll do, I'll just get the root over here. So in here I'll provide the get, that we will get it from the GetX library, and in here we'll say dot until. In here we will just remove that, and let's provide the route. So in here we'll say route, and we'll say is first, and right at end semicolon. So whenever the user will just tap on this play again text button, the text over here, you guys can see there's a text button, then we will just close all the roots until the first one. Okay, so the dialog box will be closed then, and whenever it will close all the routes until the first one, then we will just start the game. But for now on, we didn't implement the method for the start game yet, so in here we will just leave the comment so that later on we will remember it. Okay, it will be easy for you guys to remember. So there's a comment we left. Whenever we will just complete the, or let's say create the start game method, then we will call upon that in here until the first rule and closes all of the rows. Okay, so that's all for this specific method by the name show game over screen. You guys can see that over here. So right after that we will just show the show game over screen, but before that, whenever the collision will be detected, for example the snake head will be just collide with this body, then it will just detect the collision and then we will show this specific show game over screen. So right after that what we will do, let's create another method, type void over here, it will return nothing with no specified data over here, so void in here, and then we say check collision over here. Okay, so this gonna just check upon the collision, and in here braces, curly braces, take this down. First scroll down. Now right inside this method what I'll do, so in here we'll say point less and greater than sign over here, and then right inside we'll say integer type, and then just create that head over here, that's going to be the game state dot snake head. Okay, so we are getting that snake from our model with the instance name game state over here, you guys can see that, and we'll say dot first, that is going to be the snake head. Okay, so that's why in here we created by the name head, and we just assign that in this head of type point integer in here. Now right at end semicolon, you guys can see that. So this line of code will retrieve the position of the snake head as I told you already. Right after that, now in here we'll set the if condition, and right inside that what I'll do, I'll say head, which head? The snake head, in which we just assign that. Okay, now in here we'll say head with the x-axis coordinate over here, then if that less than 0, and also we will use the OR operator, so it will just check that or the statement I'm about to write, it will check that, so it will choose between one of them. That's why in here we use the OR operator. It's a basic of the coding. Okay, so you guys must know about that, the AND operator, the OR operator, and so on. So right after that it will just check the head with the x-axis coordinate over here, if that greater than or let's say equal to the grid size over here, you guys can see that, and then again we will use the OR operator, or it will check that with the head dot y coordinate over here, and then if that less than 0, you guys can see that over here, and then again OR operator, or it will just check that with it head dot y, we'll go with that, and if that let's say greater than or equal to the grid size, okay, over here. So only in that case, in here curly braces, what we will do, take this down, we will just check if the snake heads is outside the game boundaries, or let's say just collided with their own body. So in here you guys can see that head dot x, that is basically the snake head, okay, in which we just assign. So that's gonna just checks if the x coordinate of the head is less than 0, you guys can see that, and also you guys can see we put the OR operator, and I already told you about the working of OR operator in here, and then it will check upon the head dot x is that greater than or equal to the grid size, and in here again OR operator, same for the y coordinate over here, it's gonna check upon that both. So if getting the required output, then we'll have the game state over here, the instance name, and then we'll say is game over. We will get that where specific variable from the model, and in here with the instance name game state over here, and then we say dot value, you guys can see that over here, and we will set this to true. So we will just get the game to the game over screen. Okay, now right after that we'll just call upon the show game over screen. So we have to call upon that in order to just show the game over screen. So each and everything is explained in detail, and I hope it's clear. Now we will be working right on the move method. So it's gonna just control all of the movements of the snake. So the method we are about to create, it's a crucial part of the game logic, okay? And I have already told you about it will just handle the movement of the snake based on its current direction. So let's go ahead toward this specific method and we will create that over here. While in here it's going to run nothing over here, no specific type over here, and then we'll give the name as move braces and curly braces. Take this down, scroll down first. Now right inside this specific method by the name move, first we will create over here point, less and greater sign over here, and right inside that integer type gonna be the head as we did above for so many methods over here, and then game state over here, the instance name over here. Then we will just get the snake from there, and then with door first, and then in here semicolon. So this line goal will retrieve the position of the snake head, and right after that we will just use the switch statement over here. You guys can see that. So in here brushes, and then we will just set the condition over here if game state, the instance name over here, dot direction over here, and then we say dot value. So it will just check upon that, okay? And now right inside the switch statement we will just create the specific certain cases, and it just determines the new position of the snake head based on its current direction. So in here game stated direction dot value. So now we will just implement certain cases. So case 1, which will be the direction dot up, right in the up direction, okay? And in here colon, then right in this case what we will do, we'll have the head. Which head? The snake first. I mean the snake first, that's going to be the head, and we just assign this to this head. So in here for the case direction up we having that head, and now we will assign what? The point. It's in right point. So in here point, and then we say head with x coordinate, and right after that in here brushes, then we'll say head dot y coordinate, and then we will go with a -1. You guys can see that over here. Just don't get confused in that. I will tell you in detail that what it will do, this specific line of code. First let me just write it over here, grid size, okay? And we'll go out from these brushes, go out, and then we will go with the modular sign over here, and then the grid size over here. So now for this specific case direction up, you guys can see the specific line of code which we just assigned right in this head. So what it will do, this specific line of code, you guys can see for the case direction up, it will just move the snake head 1 unit up whenever it will just detect the direction up. It will just move the snake head 1 unit up. So it will do that specific line of code, okay? So now right after that you'll just break that over here, semicolon. Now right after that, for the time saving, what I'll do, I'll just copy that, or we can write from the start so that you guys just don't get confused in it, okay? So in here case again, you guys can see, and we will move it to the side like that, okay? Now in this case it's gonna be the direction dot down. You guys can see that over here with a colon. Now take this down. Now again in here we'll have the head, and in this we will just assign the point as I told you already about. In here for the x coordinate, what we will do, we'll have the head dot x in here, and for the y coordinate what we will do in here, first let me have the braces over here, then we say head dot y, and then we'll just have the plus sign over here, addition, then 1, and then we'll go out from these brackets, then we'll have the modulo sign over here, and then we'll say grid size. So this line of code that we are just assigning that in the head for the case direction down. What it will do, this line of code, it will just move the head of the snake 1 unit down, okay, with this specific line of code. So that's the logic that we created, just to move the snake head 1 unit down. Okay, now let's move further. Let's bracket first and semicolon. Again, what I'll do, I'll just take this down from here, move it to this side, and then we say case another for the direction dot left. You guys can see that. Now colon, take this down, head again. In this we'll just assign for the case direction left. What we will do, we'll have the point over here. For the x coordinate we'll say head dot x coordinate over here, so dot x coordinate. Now in here what we will do, we'll say -1, okay, and then we'll just add it addition with a grid size over here. That's for the x coordinate. Now what I'll do, I'll just put this cutter first, Control X, and in here first braces, right inside it, paste it again like that, because we are having the modulo sign over here. Just get the specific division over here, put size with it, and then for the y coordinate just the head of the snake with the y coordinate. Okay, so this specific line of code for the case direction left, and we just assign this right in this head. What it will do, it will just move the snake head 1 unit to the left, okay, with this specific business logic over here for the specific case direction dot left. Now right after that we will just break that over here, semicolon. Now right after that let's move it to the left, and in here we'll have the case which will be the direction dot right. Okay, in here colon, take this down, head again in here. Now we'll just assign the point over here. So for the direction right case, in here first let me have the braces for the x coordinates. So in here head dot x over here, you guys can see that, and we'll have the plus sign over here, addition with a 1, and then we'll have the modulo sign over here, get the specific division with a grid size, okay, in order to just get the and move the head of the snake 1 unit to the right. So now for the y coordinate, add dot y. That's all. You guys can see that. Make sure that the logic must be similar like that I created over here, okay. And right after that let's bracket to just close that over here. You guys can see that. So this line of code for the case direction right, it will just move the snake head 1 unit to the right, okay, and make sure each and everything will be similar to this logic that I created over here, okay, for the specific cases, in order to just get the accurate result for the direction of a snake head. Now just scroll down, and right after that I will just create the condition in order to just check if the snake head collide with its own body. If that is going to be true, then we will just set the game over state to true and then display the game over screen. So in order to just get the required result, what we will do, we will just come out of the specific switch statement over here, and then we'll set the if condition. We'll say game state instance name for the model, our model. So okay, now right after that we'll have the snake value over here, and we'll say dot contents. The element is going to be the head, okay. And right after that you guys can see that braces, we will just come out of that and curly braces, take this down. We'll say now game state if it will just contain the snake head, and if it's collide with its own body, then we have to just call upon in here is game over dot value, and we'll set this to true. I have already told you about this, and then we will just show the game over screen, okay. In order if the snack head collides with its own body. We just set this to true, and then we show the game over screen over here. Okay, now right after that, what we will do, we will just insert, or let's say create the new head position at the beginning of the snake. So in order to get the required result, what we will do, we'll have the game state over here, the instance name, and then we say snake over here, just snake, not the value, and then let's insert it. So the index is going to be the 0th index, and the element that we will provide, you guys know already, is going to be the head of the snake. Okay, now right after that, semicolon, and then whenever it will just insert a new head position at the beginning of the snake, then right after that we will just call upon the specific method that will check upon the food, checks if the snake has eaten the food or not. So in order to get that, we'll have the method by the name check food that we created while ago. Okay, check food, call upon that in here and write at end semicolon. Let me just show it to you. So move the mouse over here, press the control, and then left click on the mouse. It will take you right toward the specific name method over here, you guys can see, and I have already explained each and everything in detail, okay, what it will do. Now let's go down. So we have already successfully just call upon that check food, and right after that we're gonna simply just update the food position if the snake added, okay, otherwise removes the last segment of the snake. Okay, so what we will do in here, we will set the condition if, and then we'll say head if that equals to the game state, the instance name over here, then we'll check upon the food value in here curly braces, take this down like that. Okay, now in here game state, then we say food, just food with a dot value. Okay, and then we'll just equal that to the net food, the method that we just created. Okay, so move the mouse over here, control right on the keyboard and left click on the mouse. It will take you right toward the specific method by the name generate food. It will just generate the food and each and everything that I explained in detail already. Okay, so let's go down. It will generate the new food and we just assign it to that. Okay, now right after that, what we will do, else, and in here curly braces, take this down like that. Okay, then we have the game state dot snake dot remove last over here. So I have already told you about this specific condition and their work. It's going to just update the food position if the snake added. Okay, otherwise it will just remove the last segment of the snake. So each and everything is just explained in detail for the specific method by the name move and all of their work right inside it. Okay, right after that we will go and create another method by the name start game loop. So the method that I'm about to create is going to just set up the game loop, which will responsible for continuously updating the game state at a specified interval. So right down in here, let's create that. So in here void is gonna return nothing, and then we will just give the name as start game loop, as I told you already. So in here braces, then curly braces, take this down, scroll down first. Now right inside the method, the first thing that we will do, we're gonna simply just specify it, or let's say create the game speed over here. So first in here I'll say duration, as you guys can see the suggestion over here. Now in here I will give the name as game speed. Okay, and in here we'll say duration, there we go, and right in there I'll just set the milliseconds to 200. Okay, as you guys can see over here, right at end semicolon, and we will add the constant modifier since it's a constant. Okay, now right after that, and guys remember, as I told you already, that's going to be the game speed, and it will just specify the duration between each game loop iteration. Okay, for example, you guys can see over here 200 millisecond in this case. Okay, right after that, now we will create another variable, okay, simply for the game timer. In here we are gonna specify this as a timer over here, and then we will give the name as game timer and write and semicolon and write a start. I'm gonna just write delete. So basically we just declared that timer variable that will basically handle the game loop. And here you guys can see that error. You can simply just tap on it, go toward this red bulb and import that .async, okay, and the error will be gone. There we go. So we are done with this variable. Now right after that we are going to simply just define the function right down below over here. So in here we'll say void, and it's going to be right inside this specific method by the name start game loop. We're about to create this function over here by the name game loop. Okay, you guys can see over here, and in here you guys pass over here the parameter of type timer in here, and then you'll give the name as timer, and in here curly braces, take this down like that. Now in this function, the first thing that I will do, I'll just set the if condition, and we will check if the game is over. If that's true, then we will cancel the timer and show the game over screen. So in here, in order to get that required work, what we will do in here, if condition first, and then we'll say game state. There's the instance name for our model. Okay, so in here game state, and then we say is game over. You'll get that variable from there, and then in here curly braces, you guys can see that, take this down. Now as I told you already, if the game will be over, if that's going to be true, then we will simply just cancel the time. Okay, so in here timer, you guys can see, and you'll say dot cancel, and right after that we will show game over screen, edit and semicolon. If the game will be over, then we have to just stop the time, cancel it, and show the game over screen. And if something else happens, so in here we'll say else if, okay, and then over here not operator, you guys can see that game state, and then we say is pause value. So basically, first let me scroll down. If the game right over here is not over and not paused, then we will simply check for food, collision, movement of the snake, and then we will just update the UI. Okay, so it's why in here I just set this condition, and right inside that the things that I told you about. For example, if the game is not over and not paused, then we will simply just check for food, collision, movement of the snake, and update the UI. So in here what I'll do, the first thing for checking the food, we will just call upon the method by the name check food over here. Okay, it's gonna just check the food, then over here we call upon that. Right after that we're gonna check upon the collision, and we have already created the method by the name check collision, so it will just check the collision then. And right after that we're going to simply just focus on the movement of the snake. We will check that. So in here move method, just call upon that over here, it will do their specific work then. And right after that we will just update the UI, so we have to call upon the update over here, and it's gonna just update the UI. Okay, write it and semicolon. Now we will go out of these braces over here, and we will just set up the initial game timer to call the game loop function at a regular intervals. Okay, so for that specific work, what we will do in here, first I'll say over here timer dot periodic over here, and then we'll set the duration as a game speed. Okay, and you guys can see that we will simply just del that over here, and we'll say game loop over here. You guys can see that, and write it and semicolon. Now we will just assign that to the, let me just take it to the side first, to the game timer. Okay, the variable we created above. Which variable? That one. Okay, so this will basically just set up the initial game timer to call the game loop function at a regular interval, and you guys can see over here everything. Now right after that we will just go down, and in here we will just use the error function from the GetX library. So it will simply just listens for all the changes in the past state. Okay, and then we will using the error function from GetX that I told you about. For example, let's say if the game is paused, then cancel the timer, and if the game is resumed, then we will set up a new timer with the help of error function from GetX. So in here error, so in here, as I told you already, we will just provide the listener. Over here it's gonna be the game state. We will get it from the model. So in here the instance name gets straight, and then we say is paused, the variable over here, and then we will just remove that from here to here, you guys can see. Okay, and then we'll just provide the braces over here, and then we say is paused, and then over here curly braces, right at end, semicolon. Now what I'll do, I'll just take this down from here like that, and in there I'll just set the if condition, and we will check if paused. So what we will do in that case, I have already told you about, if the game will be paused, then we will simply just cancel the timer. So in here, if that's true, then game timer over here, and call upon the dot cancel over here, just cancel the timer. And if the game is resumed, so right in here else, curly braces over here, take this down, in here game timer, the variable we created above, and now in this game timer we will just assign the new timer. So in here timer dot periodic, over here provide the duration, going to be the game speed over here, and we will just remove that from here, and we will provide the game loop over here. You guys can see that, and write it and semicolon. So I have already told you about, we will listen for the changes in the past state and using the error function over here from the GetX. Okay, now right after in there we just set the condition, if the game will be paused, then we will just cancel the timer over here, and else if the game will be resumed, then we will just set up a new timer over here. Okay, I hope it's clear. Now let's move further. We will use another error function. Simply it will just listen for the changes in the game over state. Let's say if the game will be over, cancel the timer, and shows the game over screen finally. So what we will do, below in here I'll have the error function from the GetX. So we have to provide the listener. You guys know already what will be the listener, is going to be the game state, and we will get from the model, that's a instance name, guys. Okay, just don't get confused in that. Let me just show you one more time more. In here you guys can see that they're the instance name for the snake game model, and we will just get the is game over from the game state. That's the instance name. In here now is game over, and we have to provide in here first, let me just remove that, in here braces first, and then in here is game over, give the name over here. Now in here curly braces, you guys can see, write it and semicolon, and take this down from here like that. So I have already told you about, in here now we'll just set the condition is game over. Then what we will do, in here curly braces, take this down, we will just cancel the timer. So in here game timer dot cancel, and in here semicolon, and lastly we will just show the show game over screen over here. You guys can see, call upon this specific method over here. So over here each and everything is explained in detail explanation. Okay, you guys can see over here for the specific method start game loop. So this method, as I told you already, will just set up the game loop, which will be responsible for continuously updating the game state at specified interval. And all of the code inside this method, you guys can see, let me just scroll down, it will just do their specific work and responsible for continuously updating the game state at a specified interval, and each and everything is in detailed explanation that I gave already. Okay, now we're about to create another method by the name start game. So the method that I'm about to create by the name start game, it will just initialize the game state when starting a new game. Okay, so right after that, in here is going to be white type over here, is going to return nothing, and we will just give the name as start game over here in here braces, then curly braces, take this down from here. Now right inside this specific method, the first thing that I will do, we will just initialize the snake with a single point at the center of the grid. So in order to get that required work, what we will do, right from the game state, the instance name over here, from the snake game model. Okay, in here we will take the snake from it, and then dot value over here. Now to this we will just assign in here first bracket and right at end semicolon. You guys can see that right inside that we will have the point over here, and now we will just provide the x coordinate, and the x coordinate going to be the grid size, you guys can see over here, and then we'll use the tilde sign over here. So you guys will find the tilde sign that I'm about to just provide in here. You guys can see that it's going to be right inside the keyboard below the escape button. Okay, below the escape button you guys will notice that tilde, and with it I'm going to use the backslash over here. You guys can see that, and I'm going to just divide it by 2. And now for the y coordinate, what I'll do, I'll just copy that for time saving and paste it over here. So this line of code will just initialize the snake with a single point at the center of the grid, as I told you already. And you guys can see that line of code, it's gonna just create a point object with the x and y coordinates and set to half of the grid size. So that's the specific logic that we just use it over here to get the snake with a single point at the center of the grid. Okay, now right after that, let's go down, and we're gonna simply now just generate a new food item and place it in the game. So in order to get that, we have to just use the instance name over here, game state, and then we'll get the food from there, and with it we'll say dot value. Now we will just assign, call upon the generate food over here. So this will just generate a new food item and place it in the game. Right after that, what we will do, let's go down first. Now we will just reset the game over flag to false since a new game is starting, or let's say will be started. So in order to get the required work, we have to use the game state over here, then we say is game over, and with it we'll say dot value, and then now we'll just assign the false over here. Okay, now right after that, first go down, we will just reset the pause flag to false to ensure that the game is not initially paused. Okay, so in order to just get that, we have to call upon the game state in here is paused, then we say is dot value, and now just set it to false. This will do the specific work as I told you already. Now right after that, we will just set the initial direction of the snake to the right. Okay, whenever the game will be started, so the initial direction of the snake will be towards right. Now right in there, what we will do, we'll say game state over here, then we say is direction and dot value over here. Now we'll just assign the specific direction dot right over here. So in here we are using the direction and value over here. Okay, as we did that right in our snake game model or we can just go from here, model.dart in here, nm direction. Okay, up, down, left, right, so we are using that. Okay, now let's just close that and go towards the controller.dart. We're here back again. Now right after that, we will just initialize the score to 0 whenever the game will be started. So in here, game state, and we will just get the score from there, and then we say dot value. Now let's just assign 0 value over here to it. You guys can see that. Now right after that, I'm going to just set the condition for statement over here, and we'll set the condition just to move the snake a few steps to give it an initial length. Okay, so in order to get that, just to move the snake a few steps to give it an initial length, what we will do in here, we'll use the for loop for it, as I told you already, and we'll set the condition over here. First, I'm going to just initialize the integer type variable by the name I over here, and we will just initialize 0. You guys can see that over here. First in here, semicolon, now a bit space, and then we will use that integer type variable by the name I, and we will say if that less than the initial snake length. You guys can see that over here. Okay, and the initial snake length was 5, I think so. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, you guys can see that over here. Okay, now let's go down back again. So if that I gonna be less than initial snake length, then we will just subtract it then with a 1 over here, and then we will just increment the I value. Okay, since the snake length will be 5, the initial. Okay, so we have to just increment that over here in order to just get the specified work, and just take this down, curly braces, and you will just call upon the move method. It just contain all of the movement of the snake. Okay, and right after that, we will just show the start game loop over here, call upon that. Now you guys can see that specific line of code. As I told you already, it will just move the snake a few steps to give it an initial length. Okay, that's why right inside that we just call upon that move method over here. So basically that specific loop, as I told you already so many times, it is used over here to just initialize the snake initial length. It's arbitrary the initial snake length over here by -1 times in each iteration. It's called the method move over here. So the specific purpose of this for loop over here is to just extend the initial length of the snake before the game starts. Okay, and I have already told you about this, that we just initialize the variable I, integer type, initialize 0 over here, and in here I is less than initial snake length and -1 over here. It just set the condition for the loop to continue as long as I is less than initial snake length -1, and then over here you guys can see we just increment the integer type I, incremented after each iteration, and then we call upon that move method over here, which will likely update the snake position, or even we can say that perform some logic related to the game in order to just get the updates of a snake's position. Now right after that, we just call upon the start game loop over here. It just initiate the game loop, which will handle the continuous movement, collision checks, and updates, as I explained this earlier in detail, each and everything. Okay, so for that specific method by the name start game, each and everything is explained in detail. So I hope it's clear. Now we have to go and call upon that specific start game right in the show game over screen method. Okay, and also we just left the command over there, you guys will remember. Now let me just go toward the show game over screen, where we go, there we are, show game over screen. If we just scroll down over here, you guys can see that command. Okay, we have to call upon that start game method over here. And I have already explained each and everything for this specific method, show game over screen, and what it will do. So in here, whenever the user will or the player will tap upon this text button by the name play again, we will just start the game. So we have to call upon in here the start game in order to get this game to start. Okay, so we will start it from the initial phase, start game. Okay, so we have to call upon that in here. Now we are done with that. Let's scroll down. Now right after that, for the business logic, the last thing that we will do for this snake game controller, let's go down first. That's going to be the last method. We're here just to call upon the on init. Okay, you guys can see that over here. Scroll down in here. So basically that method is the part of the GetX package. The on init method is a lifecycle method provided by GetX. It is called automatically when the controller is initialized. In this case, it's the part of the snake game controller class that I showed you already. Okay, and we are overriding this method from the super class. In this case, you guys can see the GetX controller. Okay, and I have already shown you the snake game controller over here, extends GetX controller. Now let's go down back again. We're here, and I have already told you about this on init. This is a overridden method. It is called when the controller is first initialized. And in here you guys can see that super.onInit calls the same method in the super class GetX controller. It's a good practice just to call the overridden method in the super class if you override it. Okay, now what we will do, we will just call upon that in here the start game method over here, which is responsible for just initializing the game state and starting the game loop. So that's why in here we use the method on init and call upon this start game, and each and everything is explained in detail. So that's all the code for this specific snake game controller, which is extend GetX controller class. Okay, and that's all the business logic right inside the view model controller dot. So we will close the snake game controller, which is extend GetX controller, the business logic from the view model controller dot. We will just close that. We are done with that, with the detailed explanation that I gave. Okay, we'll close that, and right after that we will go toward the view. You guys can see that, and that's the main dot. Now we will go towards this directory, view directory. Okay, right click, create a new dot file, and simply we will give the name as splash underscore screen. You guys can see that over here, and you guys already know that that specific directory by the name view, this will represent the UI and the presentation logic. Okay, so the first thing that we will be working upon, and it's going to be splash screen. Now right in here we will write st, and we will go with the stateless widget. Okay, you guys can see that over here. Now I will simply just give the name as splash and screen. There we go. Now let's just import the library over here. So in here we'll say package, and we will go with the Flutter in here material dot. And now we will copy that name from here and go towards the main dot. In here we will remove that scaffold from here. You guys can see that. Remove and paste the splash screen over here, and here braces with it. Now tap on it, import this library splash screen dot. There I will be gone. As you guys can see now, you can also just add the const modifier. so the yellow line will be gone. As you guys can see, it's gone now. So whenever you will just test the app, it will start reading the code from here, from the main.dot, and right in the main.dot we are just providing right in the home the specific splash screen. So it's going to just start the app from the splash screen, and in here we are providing that. Okay, now let's go toward the splash screen dot in here back again. The first thing that we will do, we will simply just del that from here, and we will return in here future builder. You guys can see it's going to take some properties. For now on, we will just del that, and we will add step by step so that you guys just don't get confused in that. And write it and semicolon. You guys can see that. Now take this down. So this specific widget, future builder, it will just build itself based on the latest snapshot of interaction with the future. Earlier you guys can notice the properties. I will just provide in a while the future and the builder. Okay, so it just takes a future whose result you want to listen to. You guys will notice it in a while. Now in here, let's provide the future over here, and then we say future in here dot delay, and we're gonna simply just in here provide the duration. Okay, in here we will just set the seconds, and it's gonna be something 3 seconds. So whenever we will just run the app, there will be a splash screen right on the display. Okay, and it's gonna just be there for 3 seconds. You guys will notice it whenever we will just run the app. Okay, and I have already told you about that. It's a widget, okay, that builds based on the latest snapshot of interaction with the future. It tags that future. Okay, and in here we just provide the duration 3, which will be delayed for 3 seconds. Now right after that, what we will do in here, we'll just provide the builder. You guys can see that in here we'll say context, and with that now the snapshot. Now right after that, curly braces, and take this down, and this builder you guys can see over here with the context and snapshot. That builder function basically just gets called with the context and the snapshot over here, and in here the snapshot basically just represent the latest interaction with the future. It allows you to handle different stages of the future, and I have already told you about that in here. This will basically just create a delayed future that completes after 3 seconds. This is basically just used to stimulate a loading or a waiting period. Okay, now right after that, right in the curly braces, what we will do, we will just set the if condition, and we will check if snapshot dot connection state, if that's equal to the connection state dot waiting, then in this case what we will do in here, curly braces first, and take this down. We will just return the scaffold over here widget. Okay, you guys can see over here, and write it and semicolon. Now take this down. Let me add the constant modifier, so yellow line will be gone since it's a constant. And now again write in the scaffold, so we'll say body, and then the container widget over here. You guys can see. Now take this down. First we will do some decoration, so in here box decoration, brushes were here, and then we say gradient, then we'll go with the linear gradient. You guys can see over here. Now take this down, we'll say begin, and we'll go with the alignment dot to left. In here comma first, take this down. Now we will just end it over here with the alignment bottom right, and here comma. You guys can see that. Scroll down first. Now right after that we will just provide the colors. So in here colors, then bracket, you guys can see over here, write it and comma. Now right inside that, the first color that we will provide is going to be cyan, and the other color, let's go with the black. Okay, in here. Now what I'll do, I'll just add the constant modifier so the code will be clean from these yellow lines since it's a constant. Okay, so now I will show you the result right at real time. So the first thing that I will do first, with this if condition, we have to return first. Let me just in here provide the else and curly braces, you guys can see over here that, and then we say return. For now we will just return as scaffold empty. Okay, write it and semicolon, and you guys can just add the constant modifier. Now we'll just show you the result right at a real time. So come here and open the emulator. You will just take it to the side like that, and let's just first let me make sure right in the main dot. Yes, we call upon that over here. Now back again to display screen, and let's just check run main dot. We will just wait for a while because this will just run the app and install the app, and we have to wait. Installing app. Let's just see. You guys can see, you guys already noticed the box decoration in which we just provide the gradient, linear gradient. Over here we began this from the top left and ended with the bottom right, and the color was cyan and black. If I just refresh the app again, you guys will notice it over here because we just set the future.delete. In here the duration you guys can see to 3 seconds. So I have already told you about this. This will just create a delete future that completes after 3 seconds. So it just shows that display screen and then wait for 3 seconds, and then it go towards this scaffold which is totally empty, and you guys can see over here that scaffold, the white screen. Okay, so what I'll do in here, I'll just increase this seconds to, let's say, 400, so it will just delete it for a little bit longer, so we have to just notice that over there. Okay, now begin. Let's just run the app again, refresh it. There we go. You guys can see now the linear gradient color over here with the top left and bottom right, cyan and black. There's a cyan and there's a black bottom right. Okay, you guys can see, and over here with the cyan top left. So it's working totally fine. What I'll do now, right after that, and guys remember, whenever the 400 second will be completed, then it will go automatically towards the scaffold, which is a totally empty screen, the white screen that you guys noticed earlier. Okay, now we will just give the name to our game. So below this box decoration, you guys can see we'll say child over here, and in here center widget, you guys can see over here. Now right in there at the child, we will take the column widget over there, and right in the column widget, what I'll do, I'll set the property main x alignment, and we will set this right in center. So main x alignment dot center, and in here children. Now take this down. In here we'll take the text widget, and in here comma, you guys can see, take this down from here. Now string first, then we'll say snake game, right, and comma. Now let's just press the Control S, and you guys will notice that over there we go with the snake game. It is really small for now. You guys can see snake game. And what I'll do, let's just do a little style for that, so we'll make that attractive. In here, text style, in here we'll say font family, we'll set that first, and we will go with the signature. Okay, over here, and right after that we will set the font size. We'll just set it to 100. Let me just check for now. Control S, there we go. It's look more attractive than before. You guys can see that over here, snake game. Okay, so that's the splash screen that we are working upon. Now right after that, I'll just provide the color. So color that we will choose, let's go with the orange accent. Control S, there we go. Now right after that we'll go to the font weight. We will make that bold, so font weight over here, and we will go with the dot bold. Now let it end comma and Control S, there we go. It's look more attractive than before. You guys can see over here. Now right after that, what I'll do, for time saving, I'll just copy that text from here to here. Just don't get confused in that. Simply from over here to here, copy that, and below this text in here paste it. Okay, now in here what I'll do, I'll just remove that, and we will say MVVM architecture is in a capital. Let me just move it back. We'll do it in small formats. Okay, you guys can see over here. And right after that we'll just write with GetX. We will show that. Scroll down a bit, and now we'll press the Control S, and there we go. It's a little too big, so what we will do in here, we'll just set this to 30. Now Control S back again. Now it's look more good than before. Snake game, MVVM architecture with the GetX. You guys can see over here now. It's look more attractive. Now what I'll do, right after that we will just add some images for the splash screen. So below this text in here we'll have the row widget, so we will just set the images right in the row. So we have to take the row widget over here in order to just get the required work. Okay, you guys will notice it in a while. Now first in here comma, let me just take this down. First we will set the property, and we will just set this right in the center. So in here we have to just add this property specifically. Now right after that, children, let's take this down. We'll say image dot asset. Now write it and comma, and take this down from here. Now we will just provide the path. It's right inside this directory asset. So in here first I'll just provide assets. Okay, the name must be similar, guys. In my case I just gave the name to this folder assets. You guys can see over here. So in here I just provide that. Now right after that, first we will just put slash, and then we'll just get this down. In here it's a directory by the name images, so in here I'll just provide images, and then again slash. Now you will go towards the images directory, and by the name splash screen.png. You guys can see that over here. So we will just get this name over here. We'll say splash.png. okay, you guys can see over here. Now in here comma, we'll just now press the Control S. You guys can see it's a two-way page, so we have to just set the property width over here is going to be 100 point over here, and now also you'll set the height, which will be 100 again. Okay, now press the Control S and you guys will notice, there we go, it's look more attractive than before, you guys can see. Okay, there's gonna our little snake over here, the icon image over here for display screen. Now what I'll do, I'll just clean this code over here from these yellow lines, since it's a constant, so we have to add the const modifier in order to just remove those yellow lines. You guys can see that it's look more good now, the code is clean. Now right after that we will just add another image. So what we will do, first let me just add a height between this MVVM over here. We will just get this down a little. So in order to do that, that's the text of MVVM. So in here we'll just add the size box, we will give the height 20.0 and write it n comma. Now add the const modifier to it. Now Control S and boom, there we go, it's look more good now. Now I have already told you that we will add another image right in this row. So the first thing I will do, I'll copy that, and what I'll do now, I'll just first below this image.asset in here paste it, and now we'll copy that right inside the row widget, that's the image.asset, copy that over here, and below this size box over here paste it. So the first one gonna be for displays.png and the other gonna be for apple. You guys can see over here apple.png. Now Control S and you guys can see over here we will just make a little change over here. We will just move this apple right in front of this snake. Okay, so let me just copy this from here, cut it, and below this over here paste it, and this image.asset we will cut it from here, you guys can see, and below this size box there's the image.asset for splash.png, and that's going to be the apple.png, you guys can see over here. Now Control S, the place is changed, now you guys can see. Also we will just change the width and height for this splash over here. We'll set this to 190 for the snake. Okay, and also over here 190, you guys can see over here. Control S back again, now it's look more good than before. So this our snake who is looking just for their food, apple, in the right color. And also we will just remove that debug from here. In order to just remove that, we have to go to the main.dot, write in the get material ape. In here we'll say debug show check mode banner, and we will set this to false. Control S and it will be gone. There we go. Okay, it's working totally fine. Back again, right in display screen dot over here. So all of the working for display screen has been done completely, and you guys can see over here. Now we will just take this up and right in the view directory we will create another dart file simply by the name snake game. In here instead of space you'll give the underscore, and also in here underscore view. So we will now just start working right on the snake game view. Okay, and all of their UI design presentation logic will be there for the snake game view. Press enter, it's going to be right inside this directory, remember that. Okay, there we go. From now on in here, right over here st, and we'll go with the stateless widget over here. You guys can see. Now I'll just give the name as snake game view, and just take this down a bit and import the library. So in here we'll say package material dot. From now on, this is just a empty placeholder, so you will just remove that and return for now the scaffold over here. And I'll have the app bar. So in here app bar widget first, and then we will set the title over here. So in here text, and we will say it's a snake game view for now on, so that you guys just know that it will be a snake game view for now on, just writing this. So we have to copy that specific name from here and go toward display screen dot over here and write in here in the else we will return the snake game view over here. For now on, just click upon that and import this library. Okay, make sure. Now I have already explained each and everything for this specific splash screen over here. Okay, and in here we return the feature builder, and I have already explained this in detail what it will do and their specific work. So right after that, it will just check upon the connection state. If it's equal to waiting, then it will show this specific scaffold, return that over here. If the connection state equals to the connection state dot waiting, only in that case it will return that. And also with it will return this snake game text over here right in the center widget. Okay, column widget over here, and we do the specific style. Each and everything is explained in detail, and also with it will show the MVVM architecture with the GetX, their specific style. And right after that, we just set this widget by the names size box to give some height, and right in the row widget we just set the right in the center, set the images. Okay, and you guys can see over here. So this will show only if snapshot dot connection state will be equal to dot waiting. Okay, and if it's not equal to waiting, then it will go towards this snake game view, and in there we just set the app bar. You guys already know that over here. Okay, now let me just set this back to 3. Okay, and now we will just see if after delay it will go towards the snake game view or not. Now we have to come here and just tap on that, run man.dot, run the app. So it's refresh. Now it will go back toward the snake game view. There we go. You guys can see over here. So it's working totally fine. First it just show you this specific splash screen design. In here the linear gradient color, and also with it the text, snake game, and MVVM, and so on, the images. Okay, because that snapshot dot connection state was equal to the connection state dot waiting, so that condition was true, and it just showed the required result that you guys noticed earlier. And right after that, whenever that condition was false, mean that snapshot dot connection state was not equal to the connection state dot waiting, so it just returned the right in the else return the snake game view. And you guys can see over here that again we will just test it, tap on it, refresh the app. So firstly it will delay it for the 3-second display screen, you guys can see, and after 3 seconds it will go towards the snake game view. You guys can see over here, back again. So we are done with the splash screen dot. We will close that from here, and we will be working now on the snake game view dot over here. So now the first thing that we will do, we will create an instance of the snake game controller. Let me just show you, okay, of this specific controller over here, and we will just inject that instance of the snake game controller into this widget tree. So we have to just create in here the instance. So let me just take this down from here, and we will provide the final keyword in here. Then we say snake game controller over here. Now I'm gonna give the name as controller. Now we will just assign in here. First let me just write the code over here, and then I will tell you. In your get.put, you guys can see now right in there you will say snake game controller over here. So we are done with the snake game control instance. First remove that const key from here. Okay, now all just fine. We are using over here this from the get package, okay, GetX. It is using the get.put over here method in here to just inject an instance of the snake game controller into the widget tree. And you guys already know about the snake game controller. It is responsible for managing the state and the logic of the snake game. We just extend the GetX controller over here. Let me just show you one more time. So controller dot, there we go, okay. And each and everything already explained it out. And right in this controller we just assign that. So this line register an instance of the snake game controller with the GetX dependency injection system. It means that the controller become accessible and shareable across different parts of the widget tree. And you guys can see over here we use that final keyword. By using this, it means that once assigned, the controller can be reassigned to a different instance. So this variable will be used to access different methods and properties of the snake game controller throughout the widget. So I hope it's clear now. Let's move further right in the widget build. Now right after that, what I'll do, simply in here first I'll remove that scaffold widget from here to here, and we will return in here the get builder over here. You guys can see that. For now on I'll just remove that over here and write it in semicolon and take this down from here. And with the get builder we will just specify the snake game control over here. Now let's just get into these braces of a get builder over here. So basically this is a GetX widget that allows you to just rebuild parts of your widget tree in response to changes in the state of the snake game controller. Okay, and now right after that the builder function that we will provide in here, okay, and it takes the controller as a parameter. So in here let's just provide that, and over here curly braces, you guys can see that over here, and the widget will automatically just rebuild whenever the observed properties in the controller change. Okay, now in here we will just return the scaffold widget over here, write it and semicolon, and take this down scaffold widget. The first thing that I will add, it's gonna be the app bar. Okay, and you guys can see over here that snake game view, that's the previous app bar that I removed. Okay, now in here we are again adding the new app bar. So I didn't just refresh the app, so that's why you guys can see that all app bar over here. It will just remove in a while. First let me just complete the code over here, and then we will just run the app, refresh it. Okay, so in here app bar, now app bar widget bracket over here, take this down. Now we will say flexible space over here, and then we'll take the container widget over here. Okay, in order to just get in here the box decoration, then we say box decoration. Now take this down and we'll say image, and then we'll go with the decoration image over here simply for the app bar. So in here decoration image, take this down. In here provide the image. Now we'll say asset image, and in here braces, you guys can see that and comma. Now right in the braces, what we will do, first string, and then I'll just provide the path. You guys know already what we will do. So there's the asset. In here first provide the name assets over here, and guys make sure the name must be similar. Okay, right after that slash, and we will go into this directory, which is images directory. Now in here images, and then we'll say slash, open that over here. We'll go with the background.p jpg. So let's just close that background.jpg, and in here let's provide that. We'll say background over here, and then we say .jpg over here. You guys can see that, and we will add the const modifier for now. We will go toward the splash screen dot over here, and you guys can see that error below this const modifier, because the snake game view is not a constant anymore. If you go back to the snake game view dot in here, we just made several changes over here, you guys can see now, and in here we just add the specific asset image. You guys can see background.jpg. So this is not a constant anymore. Okay, so what we will do, we will go back to display screen dot over here. We will simply just remove that. You guys can see over here, and everything is just fine. Now let's close that from here, and we will go back to the snake game view dot over here back again. Now what I'll do, I'll just come over here and click on this play button, just run the app, and you guys will just notice the app bar image. There's the display screen. Now after 3 seconds, there we go. You guys can see over here the image for background, that green, but we have to just fit this, okay, as a cover. So in order to just get this for the whole app bar, what we will do, we'll just fit it. Okay, so in here fit property, call upon that, and then we say box fit over here, and we will go with the cover. You guys can see now, write it and comma, and just press the Control S. You guys will notice that there's display screen. After 3 seconds, there we go. You guys can see now the app bar in a beautiful manner. Now right after that, I will just add the title over here, and we will say something like snake game. So what we will do now, below this container over here, we'll say title, and then we'll go with the text widget in order to just get the text for this game. So in here string, and then we say snake game. You guys can see. Okay, now Control S over here. There's the display screen. After 3 seconds, there we go with the snake game. Okay, you guys can see that, and we will make this more attractive, and also we will just set that right in here in the center. So let's just do the styling first for that. So comma in here, take this down, we'll say style, and then we'll go with the text style. In here braces, take this down. Now right in the text style, what we will do, the first thing we will set for this text going to be the color. We'll go with the colors dot orange, comma. Now press the Control S, and you guys will notice the orange color. There we go now. Okay, now right after that, let's make it bold. So font weight, in here font weight dot bold, in here comma, Control S. You guys will notice it's bold now, snake game. Now right after that, I'll add the font family over here. So the font family gonna be the signature. You guys know already about that. And right after that, I'll add the font size. the font size is going to be 60. Because it's really small for now, we have to just set this to 60 and it will look beautiful. Now simply just press the Ctrl S, and there we go with the snake game. Just look more attractive than before. Now what I'll do, we'll just set this right in the center. So in here, center title property, and set this to true. There we go. Okay, Ctrl S, and it's going to be now in the center. There we go, it's working fine. And now we will just clean the code from these little lines. So in order to just remove that, add the const modifier. There we go. And also right for the body over here, we will just add this background image as we added for the app bar, this green one, okay, right in the background. So what I'll do now, below this app bar, we will go for the body over here, and then we'll take the container widget, take this down, we'll say decoration, box decoration, brushes over here, take this down. Now we'll take the image property, and then we say decoration image, brushes over here, write it and comma, and take this down. Now we'll say image, and then we'll go with the asset image. In here brushes, write it and comma, and in here string first. Now let's provide the path asset slash images, and then we'll go with the background dot jpg. Okay, the path gonna be similar like that. So there's the asset directory over here. Let me just show you one more time, and right inside that, first put the slash, and then we'll go with the image directory. There we go with the image directory. Now slash again, and right inside that we'll go for this background.jpg, and there we go with the specific name. Okay, just don't get confused in that. Now you guys can see that. I'll just clean the code first, the const modifier from this yellow line. There we go. Now simply just we'll add the fit property, box fit over here. We'll go with the dot cover and write it and comma. All just good. Now Ctrl S, space screen after 3 seconds. There we go. Now you guys can see we also add this image for the body. You guys can see over here. Okay, right in this container widget, and all of their working specific. There we go. Okay, now right after that we will just implement the score system over here, and also with it right after we will just create the button for the pause resume over here. Now the first thing that I will do below this box decoration for the score system, what we will do first, in here as a child we will take the column widget over here, and right in the column widget we'll have the children. Okay, and then we'll take the padding widget. So we will do some padding first. Now only just remove that and write it and a comma. Now take this down, padding widget. Now in here padding again, and then we say edge insect. We'll go with that dot all. We will just apply it to the all side, and in here we'll set it to 15.0. You guys can see that. Now in here child, we'll take the row widget over here. It's going to be right in the row. As I told you already, the score system will be here, and also in the row right here there will be the pause and resume button. Okay, and we will just add the tabbing system on it. Okay, right on the pause resume button. So now right in the row widget, first I'll just set the property man axis alignment over here. Then we say man axis alignment. Let me just make the spelling right. There we go. And we will just say space around. Okay, so that specific property by the name man axis alignment, this is used to align children along with the man axis of the row widget over here that we use. Okay, so the man axis of a row is horizontal from left to right, and in here you guys can see that man axis alignment dot space around. This will just distribute the free space evenly around the child along with the main axis. It's mean there will be the equal space before the first child, between each pair of the adjacent children, and after the last child. Okay, so that's why in here we use that. Now right after that, what I'll do, children, and in here text widget over here, write it and comma and take this down. Now in here what I'll do, first let's put the string over here, write it and comma, and now right inside those string what we will do, we will just provide this text by the name score over here with the column, and then let's just get the score. Okay, so in here we'll say $sign and then curly bracket right inside that. Let's have the controller that we created above. Let me just show you over here. That's the controller. Okay, the instance we create for the snake game controller. So in order to just get the required work from there, so in here we'll say controller, and then we'll say dot game state. Okay, and then we'll go with the score value. We will get the score value from there, you guys can see over here. And right after that what we will do, first let me just show you that score text over here, and then we will do the styling. So control S, that's display screen. After 3 seconds you guys can see over here the score. Okay, it's really small and it's right in the black color. I hope you guys just noticed that. In here right in the black color score, and there you go with the 0 for now on, because we didn't implement the snake and also the food system. So whenever we will just implement that and the snake will take the bite of the food, then we will just increment that accordingly to the food bites of the snake. So in here I hope you noticed that. Let me just make this more visible. So we will do a styling for that as I told you already. So in here style text style over here, and then over here first I'll just provide the color. We will go with the colors dot with a red accent over here, and right after that let me just increase the font size so that you guys can notice it. Okay, 32.0, added and comma. Now press the control S, there is display screen. After 3 seconds then we go with the score. Okay, with the red accent color over here. Now right after that what I'll do, I'll just add the font family over here, and we'll say signature, added and comma, control S, display screen. After 3 seconds there we go. It's look more good than before, right in the font family signature. Now right after that let me just add the constant modifier to that since it's a constant. Okay, and all just fine. Now right after that, as I told you already, we will just add the pause resume button. Okay, in here. So first of all what I'll do, below this text over here I'll just add the elevated button. From now on we will just remove that child and on press property over here, the click even, as I told you already. Now just take this down from here. The first thing that I will add is going to be the on press click even over here, braces, curly braces, you guys can see over here. Now I'll just leave this empty for now. We will back in a while for that. So the first thing that I will do, we will do a style for this elevated button. So elevated button dot style form, and we'll just take this down in here and we'll provide the background color. So the colors that we will choose is going to be transparent. Okay, for the elevated button. And then what I'll do, below this in here we'll take the child over here, you guys can see, and then we'll take the text widget over here, and then I'll just have the instance name over here, and then we say game state over here, and then we'll just say is paused value, if that gonna be is paused value. Let's say if that will be true, then in here we'll use this conditional operator. It'll just indicate that it's a if, in order if that will be true. So if that going to be true, then right in the if in here we'll say resume, and then if that's going to be false, then what we will do in here, press enter, we will provide the colon sign that will indicate the else. Okay, so in there we'll say pause tags over here, we will show that specifically, and in here comma. Now we can just press the Control S. There we go. You guys can notice over here this pause. For now on it's false. Okay, so it will go toward this else, and showing right here the pause tags over here. Okay, it didn't visible that much, so we will do the style for that. In here we'll say style, tag style, and in here first let me add the color over here. So we'll go with the colors dot red accent, you guys can see, and right after that we'll increase the font size so that you guys can notice 32.0, and also we'll add the font family, which will be Signature, rated and comma. I'll just clean the code first, add the const modifier. Now press the Control S, and you guys will just notice it. There we go with the pause button. For now you guys can see that okay, it's working fine. Now if you tap on it, it will not just show you the resume, because in here right on the press event, click event, we didn't add anything yet. So in here back again, and what we will do, let's have the instance over here by the name controller, and just we'll call upon that specific method by the name toggle pause. It will do the specific work then over here, and I have already explained this in detail, okay, right in our business logic in view model, okay, in here. So we just call upon that over here in order to just get the required work. Now let's just refresh the app. There we go with display screen, and now in here you guys can see, if I tap on it, you guys will notice the resume text. There we go, resume, okay, because whenever you will tap on that, it will go toward this resume, and this will be true, and it will show you that specific resume right in the if. And if you just tap back, that gonna be false, and it will show you that else statement over here, the pause. You guys can see whenever we will just implement the snake, the food, each and everything there, that we will just pause and resume the game, and you guys will notice each and everything, because right in here for the elevated button we add each and everything, and it will just do their specific work to pause and resume the snake during the game. Okay, all of their working has been done completely. Now right after that, let's scroll down first. Now right after that, we're gonna simply just UI logic for rendering the game grid, where each cell will represent the snake, food, or empty spaces. Okay, let me just create the UI logic for that. So what we will do, below this padding over here, I'll just have the expanded widget over here. From now on we will remove that child, and later on we will add it, write it and comma, and take this down. Now in here child, and we will just tag the raw keyboard listener widget over here, because we will just control our snake with the keyboard keys. Okay, now in here we'll have this raw keyboard listener over here, and in here braces, take this down. So you guys can see that expanded widget, and we just have right in there as a child the raw keyboard listener. And I have already told you about this widget will just look, or let's say listen for the raw keyboard events, will control the snake movements. Okay, now right inside that we will just provide the focus node. Okay, so Basically, this focus node is used to handle focus for the keyboard input. In this case, it is uses and this focus node over here, which is empty. You guys can see, since it doesn't require keyboard input focus. Now, right after that, what we will do in here, we will just provide the on key callback. So we'll say on key property over here, and then we say the instance name controller, and then we'll call upon this method by the name handle arrow key. Okay, and in here what I'll do now, I'll just remove that from here, and I'll just find handle arrow key. You guys can see over here, and right inside that, let me just show you that. First come here, move the mouse over here and press the control right on the keyboard, and then left click on the mouse. It will take you right toward the specific handle arrow key, and I have already explained each and everything over here in detail. Okay, so you guys can see this is our business logic controller dot over here, right in the view model. Okay, that's a dot file, and in here it will just control all of the movements of a snake. You guys can see over here, and in here we are having that raw key down event. So let me just close that, go back again towards the snake game view dot over here. That's why in here we call upon that for on key. Now this on key callback is connected to the controller dot handle arrow key over here. So basically this means every time a key is pressed, then this specific method by the name handle arrow key right in the business logic in our controller will be called from. Okay, and we'll do their specific work. Now right after that, we'll take the child and we'll say in here grid view, we'll go with the dot builder. From now on, what I'll do, I'll just dial this and we'll edit one by one so that you guys just don't get confused in that. Let me take this down first. Now this grid view dot builder widget is basically used to build a grid dynamically based on the delegate. Okay, now in here we will just provide the property by the name grid delegate, and in there we'll have the widget by the name sliver grid delegate with a fixed cross axis count over here. Okay, this will create a grid with a fixed number of our cross axis cells. You guys will notice it whenever we will just complete that and test the app. Okay, now in here brushes, you guys can see over here, take this down. Now we'll save the cross axis count, and then we say the snake game controller dot grid size, we will take that. Okay, now right after that, what I'll do, below this in here we will provide the item count, and guys in here you guys can see that cross axis count, it is set to this snake game controller dot grid size. You guys can see this will basically determine the size of the grid, and this variable is defined right in the snake game controller class. Okay, so don't get confused in that, and it will just represent the number of cells in one row or column of the grid. So right after that, you guys can see that item count. Now back in here we will set this to the snake game controller dot grid size. There we go, and simply multiply it with a snake game controller with a grid size over here. Now what it will do, this will basically just, let's say, indicate the total number of cells in the grid, and we multiply this with the number of rows, snake game controller dot grid size, by the number of columns over here, rows and columns over here. So just to get the total number of a cell. Okay, and right after that, what I'll do, let me just take this down, move it to the left side so that you guys can have a clear look over here. Now we'll have the item builder over here, and then we'll take the context, not this the context. There we go. And then we say let's have create the index over here with the specific indexes, and then curly braces, take this down from here like that. So this item builder callback, this is basically we use here just for invoking the grid, and right inside that for the each and every item. So it provides the context over here, you guys can see, and also this index of the item being built. And basically this index, you guys can see, this is used to calculate the corresponding row and columns for the current item. Now right inside that, what I'll do, we'll create an integer type row, and to this row we will just assign this specific index, and in here let's have the tilde. So you guys will find that tilde below the escape button right on the keyboard. Okay, so in here there go the tilde, and then we'll go with the slash, and then we say snake game controller dot grid size. You guys can see over here. Now simply for the column, what we will do, let me just create in here the column first, and it's going to be integer type, you guys can see, and then we say index, and then we'll have the modulo sign over here, you guys can see, and then we say snake game controller dot grid size over here, simply for the rows and column. And right after that, what I'll do, first let me just tell you what it will do. This line of code, this will basically calculate the row index by performing the integer division of the current index by the number of columns. Okay, and right after that, in here this line of code, what it will do, this will basically calculate the column index by taking the remainder of the division of the current index by the number of columns. So it will do the specific work. Now right after that, what we will do, let me just take this down, and let's create a point over here. Okay, point object, basically this will represent the position of the current cell in the grid. So we have to create that in here, point, and it's going to be integer type. Let's specify that over here, and we'll give the name over here, you guys can see, point. We will identify by the specific name point, and now we'll just assign the points over here. So point, let me just, for the x coordinate column, and for the y coordinate we'll take the row. Okay, and right at end semicolon, you guys can see that. And right after that, what we will do, now we will just set the if condition over here. So first we will say the instance name over here, and then we say game state, and then we'll check the snack value. If that contains in here elements going to be the point, then what we will do in here, first curly braces, and take this down from here like that. Okay, just don't get confused in that. So the snack will contain the points, then we will return in here the snake cell. So in here first with the half of instance controller, and then we'll say dot, let's call upon the bill snake cell in order to just get the snake cell right at end semicolon. So this line of code, what it will do, this will just check upon the points if it's contained in the list of points representing the snake in the game state. So if the point is a part of the snake, then it will just return the specific bill snake cell over here, and in here we are using this instance name over here. Okay, we will get that from there, and you guys know already about this controller. So basically, as I told you so many times, this will check upon the snake value, and we are getting this from the controller. Okay, the instance name, and if that contains point, then we will return the snake cell over here, call upon the specific method, and each and everything is explained in detail right for this method. Okay, so we are having that instance name, move the mouse over here, control left click on the mouse, it will take you right here, that the bill snake cell over here. Okay, and each and everything is explained in detail. Let's close that. Back to the snake game user dot over here, back again. Now right after that we will just set the other if condition, and we will check if points gonna be equal to the first in here the controller instance name, and then game state over here. Then we will check upon the food value, you guys can see, and in here curly braces, take this down. Then right in there we will return the first in here the instance name controller, return the bell food cell, you guys can see over here. So in here we just set this if condition, and we are checking if that food will be equal to the current position of the food item. You guys can see over here in the game state represent the business logic, and there go the instance name. Let me just show you over here for this snake game controller. Okay, so basically if the point will be equal to that represent the food location, then we will just return in here and call upon that specific method, okay, from the snake game controller with the instance name over here. We call upon that bid food cell, so it's gonna just create the food cell then. And right after that what we will do, simply we'll say else, and in here curly braces, take this down. Now if something else happen, for example if the current point neither correspond to the snake nor to the food, not to the snake nor to the food, then we will simply just write in the else over here, return the bell cell with the colors dot black 45. So simply in here we will just return the bell cell, okay. So in here let's say instance name controller, and then we say bell cell, and we have to provide the specific color over here. Colors, we'll go with the black 45. So write it and semicolon. All of the work for this specific condition has been done completely, and each and everything right for this snake game controller has been done completely, and each and everything is explained in detail. So now you guys will just notice each and everything that I explained over here right in this expanded widget. You guys will notice that. Now let's go and we will just run the app. So you guys notice we are getting the error over here, so we'll go towards the run, and let me just check what we got in here. Error.html is not okay, so it just automatically add the library by the name .html. okay, so we will remove that from here, you guys can see, and then we will import in here the .math. There we go, and all of the error has been gone. Now if we just run the app, okay, the .html, it was automatically just added by the Flutter. Okay, so we have to just remove that .html and in here add that with the .math. Now we'll go down and just run the app. This time it will work fine, and you guys will notice the snake in each and everything. There's the display screen over here. After 3 seconds we will go toward the snake view. There we go. You guys can see over here the snake is moving right in the green color over here, and you guys can see that apple over here, it's in the right color. Okay, and in here you guys can see, let me just show you the method by the name build snake cell, and you guys can notice that over here. And also right after that, build food cell, you guys can see over here. And you can also just check the build cell over here with the black 45 color over here. That's the black 45 color, and if you guys want to change, simply change it from here, the build cell color. And now, as I told you already, we will just handle the snake movement with the help of keyboard arrows keys. Okay, so that's why in here we call upon that, having that widget over here. I also provide the focus node, and in here you guys can see right on the on key, we are just calling upon this specific method, which is handle arrow key. Will handle all of the movement of the snake with the help of keywords. For example, up, down, right, left. Okay, each and everything. If we go towards the specific method handle arrow key, control left click on the mouse, it will take you right here. Okay, you guys can see, and each and everything right for this business logic has been explained in detail. Okay, each and everything over here. And that's the build cell. Okay, you guys can notice over here, and that's the build food cell. In here we're providing the image food.png, which was apple, and you guys can see over here. And also the snake cell, it's a snake.png, and you guys can notice that in the green color over here, that's moving on the right direction. So there is no need of explaining it again in detail. I have already explained this in detail, and let's go and just test the app. Okay, I'll just close that controller, and that's the snake game view dot. Let's go down, and let me just take it to the left side like that. First come here and click upon that over here right on this build cell. Okay, now we will just start moving with the keyboard. There we go, with the up, right, down, left. It's moving totally fine, and you guys can see that over here. Okay, now I will go and just take a bite of the food. There we go, the snake, you guys can notice over here, the length of the snake is increasing whenever the snake takes a bite of the food. You guys can see. Okay, it's working totally fine, and you guys can also notice that the score is incrementing. The score now 5, 6, 7, and also you can just see the length of the snake is increasing whenever the snake takes a bite of the food. Now what I'll do, I'll just come over here and pause the game. So we will check if that will just pause the snake or not. There we go, you guys can see over here, it's working totally fine, and the snake has been successfully paused over here. Okay, because right in here, let me just show you, you guys can see that text button, pause, resume, and in here we're calling upon that specific method, toggle pause, which will just do the required work to pause and resume the snake. Okay, and I have already explained each and everything in detail. So now let me just move to the side, and let's just see if it will just resume the game or not. Tap in here. There we go, the snake is moving fine after I tap upon the resume. So you can see over here, each and everything is working totally fine. And what I'll do, the last thing, just to over the game, so let's go ahead and do that. Now I'm about to hit the head of a snake with its own body, and let's just see, it just detect the collision because the snake was detected collision with its body, and there we go with the game over screen. And you guys can see your score over here, 13, and there you go, the text button Let me just show you the working one more time specifically, and I have already explained this in detail, guys, okay, so that you guys can get a clear idea. There we go with the show game over screen, there we go with the game over text, okay, which is in Sigdara, and also your score, you guys can see that. And right after that, there we go, the play again button, that's the text button. So if we tap on that, what it will do, first it will just remove that dialog box over here, and then it will just start the game right from the initial phase, I mean from the start, okay, you guys can see over here. So that's how it will work. Now let's just check that if it will just start the game back again or not. Come here, click on display again, there we go. You guys can see over here the game is start right from the initial phase, from the start. You guys can see the length of the snake, you can just notice the score is 0, and each and everything is right here from the start. So it's working totally fine. And the collision that I was talking about, there we go with the check collision method, and I have already explained this in detail what it will do, this specific method, okay. So whenever the snake will just detect the collision, we just setting the game over to true and show the game over screen in here. We call upon that specific method over here, and each and everything that I explain in detail is right here. You can have a look, and that's the move method in which we just set all of the specific directions. And also if the snake will just detect the collision with it itself, then in here you guys can see game over true, show the game over screen, and each and everything is right here. You can have a look, that the start game loop that I explain in detail. So basically that's it for this project for MVVM GetX. We successfully implement this snake game. So you can play over here with the snake, take the bite of the food, pause the game, you can check your score, each and everything right here. I'll just close that, and let me just close this also, okay. We are right on the main dot. So we are done successfully with the snake game with MVVM architecture and GetX. So you are now a professional developer by creating this amazing game, snake game, with the MVVM architecture with the GetX. So good luck with it.